What if they brought a VoIP into Eve? What if you're in an asteroid belt and you are able to talk over voice to somebody else on the asteroid belt? Can you imagine prox chat in the game? Well, is EVE Online in a good place in 2025? That's the question we mean to answer here in the director's letter. Yes, the director's letter for the EVE devs. We're going to be listening to it, watching it, and giving our takes about what state the game is in.
Let's get started. I'm joined by Suzume Okami in the middle here, our game design director, Suzume Rotati, of course, our game director, and Suzume Berger, our creative director. How you guys doing?
Awesome, man. Yeah, really good. Thanks for having me.
I love his Revenant shirt, dude. Sick. Good to see the Avengers assemble of Eve. You know, this is, by the way, do we all have like equal amounts, right, James, of like incredible hair, incredible beard, incredible hair? Like it's, you know, and Swift is killing it with his fit too. Dude, what's with the Trig teddy bear, dude? I want a proving ground approved teddy. What the heck? We got the Feto right here too.
Yeah, of course.
Killing it.
Welcome to my corner of the Pulse Bar or wherever we are.
Yeah.
In space.
In space.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're safe, everyone.
They're in space, chat.
But yeah, we just wanted to kind of look forward to a little bit about what we can expect in 2025. It's been a while since we chatted with you, actually, since the Revenant expansion. So tell us, what has happened a little bit since we last chatted?
Well, you all have been quite busy shooting each other in the face.
Gotta be honest with you. Gotta be honest with you. Can we rewind? Wait. Let's go. We got it. We got a comment on this, dude. Okay, this face. This face from the man. This is the face of... The question was, how has it been since Revenant? The short answer is that Revenant added a new system and improved some stuff from Equinox, but the null blocks are not happy. I see this. Equinox, we talked about this last year. Equinox added a lot of new stuff to the game, and while some unrest is to be understood because the systems are new and people have to learn the new systems, there was a lot of critiques of CCP games of rolling out bugs and having things that weren't finished. We just got done talking about this actually in one of our recent videos. The point is, I think the devs are improving things. We've already seen them improve some things. So the short answer is that this face, I'm sure, is a face of a man who has read those complaints, let's call them, and is doing his best to whip the devs and into shape, not whip the devs, sheesh, Loru, goodness gracious. Help the devs, help lead the devs to make a continual better product. We'll see. So
you all have been quite busy shooting each other in the face. A lot of explosions, a lot of beautiful ships being built and space claimed. And
I see this question. MMGA, is this make mining great again? Is that what that means? Just for clarification, because we have some other people that are new in chat. What is my if that is what it is? Opinions on MMGA mega mining great again? I think that every time you add a new system to a video game, as vast as Eve, isn't that super funny, right? That you're going to have ripples. Isogen was put under control, let's say, but now you've seen Mexilon and other, Merc and Morphite go crazy, right? With its prices, with all these other things. So what are my opinions on the movement? I don't associate with the movement of MMGA because I don't know what their demands are or whatever the heck, What I will tell you is the CCP devs have proven the past couple years alone that they will implement a system, see how stuff goes, improve that system, see how stuff goes, that we need to give it time. Okay, we need to give it time. That's my opinion of it. So I think mining's pretty okay. I don't know what mining was like back in the day. Well, back in the day it was much better because there wasn't scarcity. They literally made it harder to mine, roughly speaking. So, nowadays that's how it is. So what would you want mining to be better than now? I have no idea. It's so complex. What I'll tell you is keep giving your opinions and feedback in a constructive way to the CSM. The summit's happening right now. Put them in a constructive way, and let's keep it going. This is such a good it's such a good question. We're never getting through this video if I keep answering questions. So Let's get back to this. What I'm telling you is, how would I make mining better? Encourage miners to get back on the belt. How that looks, I don't know. So
Space lost and massive migration resets. I mean,
good to see you, Justin. Welcome to live. The Great Migration. This happened recently. This is not nothing. Okay, in October, $7 million of ships were moved. Okay, 126 equivalent number of Milky Way galaxy crossings made. What? The equivalent of 127 Milky Way galaxies, like in a line, were crossed? Because people were traveling its light years in Eve. That's like, I actually can't fathom that. 32,000 Eve freighter cargo holds full of assets. 32,000 and a half freighter cargoes moved. Full. Whoa. Because the Imperium embarked on relocating their assets valued over $1 trillion ISK. And we actually just did the math on this. $1 trillion ISK. There's a Python in contracts right now as of this video for 1.2 trillion ISK. And that we did the math. If you go onto Marquis' site and use my code on the 20K Plex packs, thank you for that. Don't go buy this, chat. Just to be clear, don't do this. But we did the math. 1 trillion ISK is about 9 to 10 20K Plex packs. It's like $6,000. It's just a lot of stuff. It's just a lot. It's crazy. So all of these corps moved, I guess. Or I thought one of them moved, but maybe all of these guys moved. Crazy. So, right. Warhammer 40K stats for sure. So this happened in October. This is one of the biggest moments in October that maybe a lot of you didn't know about or see because it didn't affect you because you might not be a null. But, so 1 trillion seems like nothing. I mean, $6,000 is a lot to spend on a video game, right? So, and hey, maybe I did the math wrong. Feel free to correct me in chat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This was huge.
I think we've been really busy since the expansion, actually, with follow-up releases, which is something that we kind of...
Dan, I didn't say I don't want wars. I don't know how you got that. Of course I want wars. We need more fights. Undock, get people fighting. I don't know how you got I don't want wars. That's not true. So,
I've talked about in the beginning of the expansion phase was like we were going to roll it out in kind of a couple of releases, for example, Skyhooks, iterations, and then we've basically been following more up on quality of life and stuff like that. We didn't plan, but kind of kept in our back pocket if it kind of happened to happen. So there's been a lot of unexpected, unplanned, and kind of released. We didn't talk about these things.
PI templates,
PI
right?
Upgraded.
Hey,
like they were just kind of on a back.
Go watch my guide.
Waiting for the right opportunity to strike.
Go watch my guide.
We've been kind of seeing that way more than we expected, kind of in this expansion era. So that's kind of drying up now as we enter
the PI template change. We have a full guide. You can copy a bunch of my templates. The PI template change has revolutionized PI. There is now zero excuse to not do PI. I made, in 4 days, I just got done selling 1.1 billion ISK. I had a stockpile of P2s. I turned them into P3s. It took about 4 days. I just got done selling them for 1.1 billion ISK. Took 4 days to turn my stockpile of P2s into P3s. They went from worthing like hundreds of millions of ISK to 1.1-ish billion ISK. Okay. And it's templated now. Go do it. It's literally so easy. We have a full playlist. I think it's in the description. Go to watch the PI for starters, PI starter thing. Do it.
planning for the next expansion, but it's been hell of a ride.
Yeah, and since we last spoke, we've seen a lot more narrative events as well in Revenant leading up to the launch and even beyond. So a few more in-game events and other live things like that as well, on top of all the game balancing and content updates we've done.
Yeah, it's been like a really active year, really active back half of the year.
Yeah.
You mentioned the PI templates. The team that was responsible for it wants to make sure that you guys know it wasn't only because of the Reddit threads. They're actually working on that beforehand.
The memes were pretty good.
Yeah, but the memes gave them a little bit fuel to kind of get over the edge a little bit. Dread Insurance was another one that popped up. This is something that people who like Dread Brawls are really enjoying. The Metanox moon drills give them a great venue to do this stuff. And I think in the last like 3 years, if we're just looking at some data, the number of dreads that have been killed, both in like ISK value and just sheer number, is at like a really big high point for 2024.
Really?
And it's exciting to see what players might do in 2025.
Dreads killed are at an all-time high? That means dreads undocked are at an all-time high. Is that what he's saying? Yes? Dread kills are at an all-time high in 2024? That's pretty sick, because no longer are they these like paperweights that are just sitting in your, a hold waiting to be undocked, whatever. So, so can you copy PI to other planets? Yes, Espeon. It's so pathetically easy now. Before it would take you like an hour to like set up something and do it on all your planets. Now you can make it once, and then you can use it on all the planets on that character and on your alts and on your alt accounts, and just go freaking set. It's so easy, dude. It's so easy. So supers are no longer the meta lore. It's more efficient to deploy them. Let's freaking do it. Well, doesn't that mean they might be the meta if it's more efficient to use them? Is that what that means? We'll see. So, how can that be? We didn't have big scale wars. Again, isn't that a good thing that the dreads are coming out for not big scale wars? They're not just a trump card, right? They're not just the thing you bring out when there's like, a massive border war. It's like, hey, let's take the dread out in a fleet and support it. And dreadnoughts for new E players are the capital ships. They're the big ships. They're like the size of small moons. They're really awesome. I'm glad they're being used more.
With those.
I'm glad they're being used more.
Yeah.
Dredge fights are always fun.
And I think, it's been really amazing to see how the Metanox has kind of how it's entered New Eden and how it's kind of changed up how players or Capsuleers actually claim space and hold space and attack stuff. So it's been a very healthy change, and we keep on, we're still like looking at it and focusing at it and seeing what other things we can learn from it and improve.
This is good to know. Okay, so look, chat, we're going to call a spade a spade. The company, this is all scripted. Okay, the company has to say the script. They sit in rooms for weeks knowing what to say for the fans. The Metanox Moon Drill is, in my opinion, a good addition to the game. It is. The objective of it was to get people to stop ice mining and go fight more, at least what it looks like. I haven't heard that from these guys, but I think the objective of the Metanox Moon Drill is to set it up. It's something to defend, but then your people that were normally ice mining can now go do other things. They can now go get in fights. They can go rat. They can go explore. They can be active in the community, whatever, instead of just ice mining, right? But what ended up happening with the Metanox Moon Drill, and it's an automated thing, is the amount we saw it on our last Oz report react, and we might watch another one today because I saw Oz put another one out right after this video. The most of moon mining is now done by the Metanox Moon Drill, and this is having some interesting effects on the economy. And I like that they're saying we're going to keep looking at this and improve. What I'll tell you, I trust the Eve devs to look at the effects of it, give it time, and then try to improve stuff. We've already seen the Equinox was not great at launch with all the bugs and all these things. And then they kept hotfixing stuff. Like, okay, a month, whatever had gone by, they fixed some stuff. They saw the ripples of that. A couple months went by, they fixed some more stuff. They keep seeing the ripples of that. They introduced mercenary dens. We're going to keep seeing what they're going to do. I think they know that the Metanox Moon Drill is causing ripples in the economy that are not loved by the masses. I think that's the best way to put it, right? I think that's a good politically correct way to put it. Okay. So we'll see what the rest of this does. Time is on our side. I think that's what I'm saying. So, right, exactly, Devin. Yes. Because the Metanox has a tiny reinforcement timer. Right. Yeah. Unlike the rest of structures, for sure. So, Ooh, Noxie, welcome in. Well done. Good job.
And the size and sort of like rate and cadence of those conflicts as well.
Yeah.
Not just epic grand scale battles in, solve space, but smaller, more intense and interesting battles as well.
Which is good. That's what we want.
Real value. You can see that there's a reason to put them into space. People really want to be able to kind of generate this value and are willing to commit the resources and risk them. But we also have, I think, a better balance in the skyhooks now. They were all in the same timer in the beginning, but now they've kind of slowly being kind of spread out. So there's way more opportunities for people to find something if they go on a roam, if it's skyhooks, if it's the Metanox, etc. So
more dense.
Yeah.
Yep.
MTOs, yeah, exactly.
DSS
Blowing up,
is like it's
blow up Merctens.
Work dense.
Yeah,
Yep.
my little group that I'm flying with recently, every time we just film it somewhere in space, there's always something within 5 or 10 jumps. We rarely make it more than 5 jumps before we meet our
Good point.
ultimate demise. And the community team also have a stream every Friday. We barely.
It's a really good point. There's more to do in Null, especially than ever before, with the new nodes from the Sovereignty Hub, the new PS5, as I call it, the freaking blade that's floating in space. That gives you new nodes. The Skyhook attracts more rats. It can attract Titan level rats. Okay, this is a big Dread level rats, big deal. So you have to deploy big ships to like defend the Skyhook. The Moon Drill's another thing to fight over, and then finally the Mercenary Hubs are a little add-on you can put onto your Skyhook's Dread level. Okay, is it Titan or Dread? I know it's Dread. I don't remember if it's Titan or not. I know it's Dread. Thank you, Nico. The Mercenary Hubs you can attach to the Skyhook, and that's another thing then that like affects things. So there's more to do in Null and more to defend, as always. Like you just mentioned, filamenting in. We do a decent amount of filamenting in just because there's so much to do in Null. It'll be interesting to see as the game grows if the game gets so overpopulated that maybe we need more space. Because I don't know about y'all, but a couple years ago, I would filament and I would have empty systems for like 2 or 3 jumps. I've been filamenting off stream. It's never empty. And maybe I'm just getting unlucky, but it's never empty. Like, and I'm not talking like, oh, there's one person. I'm talking like 5, 4, 7, 2, 5. Like there's always someone in Null. I think the population might be improving, chat. You know what I'm saying? So
They make it 1 jump most of the time.
Right.
That's because people are they're out for looking for corpses. The corpse trade. And we should actually have you guys on pretty soon so we can get some CCBO comic
Hell yeah.
corpses. Rare, I'm sure.
Nobody has my corpse yet, so
Oh, so good.
putting that out there, who's going to be first?
Yeah, my corpse is devalued completely. The floor is falling out. We also had the Alliance tournament, the 20th Alliance tournament, which was pretty crazy to see.
Yes.
People like compete all out for them. Had tournament battleships for the first time in forever in the Python. So our Python got killed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that our community is doing an amazing job at killing Python. I mean, we're trying to, slowly upgrade our Python, but this is one way of doing it.
Nice joke, dude.
Yay! Nerds.
I was like, huh? He's talking about code, chat. I was like, hey, that was good. Chat, the 20th Alliance tournament, 2 decades of the AT is a big deal. Last year, we couldn't cover it just because life was stopping me. This year, we're going to be covering it quite a bit. So we're going to have a good time with that. It was really good. Maybe they can chat. Ping CCP Games if you want them to help. If you want me to help them announce the tournament. See if you can send them a little DM. Be like,
You know who would be really good to cast the Alliance tournament is that Loru gaming guy. I heard he does it well.
if you missed our frigate fiasco last year, we had a great time casting that, and then the Cruiser Chaos tournament the year before was a great time. Definitely go check that out.
You had mentioned that you've been kind of watching Alliance tournament prize ships, and you've been like really surprised at how many of them are dying the last couple.
There was a culling of the herd. Yeah, I remember a couple of months ago. Just one after another. Don't know what it was. If it was a failed deployment or like someone moving, but like.
I love seeing people use their ships.
I get asked this question, Davincio. Have I considered running for CSM? I will not be running for CSM. I do more good for the community making my show and doing this. The CSM is really, just to be direct, for smarter people than me, people that have done the numbers. They're really plugged in and they eat, sleep, and breathe Eve. I eat, sleep, and breathe content creation. I'm a content creator first. I'm a content marketer first. I play Eve as a way to help the community and as a way to grow the channel and continue good discussions. I can do more, I think, on making better YouTube videos instead of being in the CSM room. Could that change? Maybe. We'll see. For now, I'm not going to run for CSM. You know what I'm saying? So that's true, Syncline. I'm worried. I'll be honest with you. If I have with Eve Frontier, I have done very little in the game because I'm worried I'm going to blurt something out on stream and then screw myself, So, of course, it's a great question. It's a fantastic question, obviously. So, I love it. Dan. We about to slow down. We're not slowing down, Dan. Don't you worry. Yeah.
and get them in space.
Yeah.
Get that risk out there. And,
Yeah, it's been really nice since we brought the Alliance tournament back. We actually upped the amount of prize ships that players get, and that's really, we've seen them being like, they've been less like sitting in the hangar collecting dust, more like, oh, I'll take it out for a roll.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes, good. Undock.
And a lot of times what happens is like some insanely motivated person sets a trap for them and kills them,
Yep.
which is always fun.
That's great.
But that was 2024. A lot of stuff towards the back half of the year. Let's look forward to 2025. What can players kind of expect for like the year, just high level stuff?
Here we go.
So, 25. It's going to be a huge year for us. We're planning 2 expansions, a summer expansion and the winter expansion. So, and we've already started,
Here we go. I saw this get tweeted out. This is the roadmap for 2025. So, Q1, Revenant update. Q2, summer expansion. Sick. FanFest. See you at FanFest, chat. I'm there. I'm one of the hosts. I'm one of the player presenters there. So I'm literally I'm part of the show. They're actually flying me out. I'm very honored. Thank you again, CCP Games, for flying me out, for helping me to get there. It's a big deal, chat. They're helping me get there. They're making it happen. I'm going to get there early, so I'm going to talk to the devs. It's going to be a great time. I'll be there. Bring the patron mugs that we have on our T2 patrons. I'll sign it. Bring them out. I'll sign it. So, chat, I'm going to see y'all there. Param, come on down. It's going to be a great time, you know. Capsuleer Day. Chat, this is one of the best times to get back into EVE. Is Capsuleer Day. You get a bunch of new ships, new stuff for free. It's really awesome. Alliance Tournament feeders. I'm going to have to see if I cover both of these. I don't know what the difference is. I'll be honest. Last year, I missed the Alliance Tournament just because life Q3, Q4 last year was crazy. This year, I planned on covering these. What's the difference between feeders and Alliance Tournament? I don't know what the difference is. Summer expansion update. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this right now, but let me get through this. Confirmation: Crimson Harvest Winter Nexus is back. These are some of the best. These are some of the best times to make ISK in EVE. I really love Crimson Harvest Winter Nexus. Big ISK injection into the market. You've heard Oz talk about it. It definitely is a cause for inflation for various things, but at the end of the day, ISK is ISK, and I like everybody having ISK, and that's, him and I can debate that at another time. Okay, Alliance Tournament, yay. Okay, Alliance Tournament qualifiers. Okay, sure. And then the winter expansion. So, let's talk about the big hitters. Summer expansion. Okay, summer expansion, and then a summer expansion update. I saw a lot of people in the forums. I did some perusing on in Discords and various things saying that this roadmap is bad. That there's not a lot on this roadmap. That this roadmap is not enough. I just disagree with that take. I understand that some of this is like putting like half of Q3 towards something that's actually happening in Q4. Okay, sure, but they have to make it look like there's two things. I understand that from a marketing standpoint. I get it. What I'm trying to tell you is this is a good model. Revenant update in Q1, okay? Revenant had some interesting changes to the game, and really the Revenant update should be titled like Equinox update, right? They're going to keep messing with Equinox, they're going to mess with Ore, they're going to mess with the systems that came out in Equinox, the Skyhooks, Sov, all this other stuff. They're going to make Equinox and Revenant, whatever. Revenant is an addition to Equinox, so they're going to make both better. I like this. I like that we're not just constantly adding new things and making the game broken and unbalanced mess. I like that they are, you're right, Hart, and there's a vocal minority here too that are just unhappy no matter what happens. So I think this is fine that we do an expansion, we let the dust kind of settle and see what happens to the market, and then they tweak. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that we have Revenant updates before we have new content coming out. And I want to remind people, last time we had expansions, last year, did we get the Deluge and the Torrent last summer? I use those ships every day. They're some of my most used ships now, because I do a lot of PI. It's just, and a lot of hauling for my Corp. If I go back to high sec, I'm gonna bring a Torrent so I can bring a couple ships through the wormhole back into Pochfin and then sell them through contract. So I'm just gonna if I'm coming back, that's what I'm gonna do. So it's interesting that people get mad about this. I'm going to tell you, Chan, I like that we get confirmed 2 expansions next year. We get the summer expansion and the winter expansion. I like that then we are seeing that right after those expansions happen, that there's an update at some point on those, and it lets the market settle. Because here's what would actually be bad. If they kept just putting out new content without any regard to balance and just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and then all of a sudden in 2 years, the game is unrecognizable. Kind of like Call of Duty right now is like going through a lot of changes, because you see, like back in the day, it used to be very, very tactical and very like everything was about the military. Now it's like, which pink pony skin are you gonna buy, dude? It's not the same game anymore because it just kept going big outside of the core ethos. So this, I agree, Dev. I haven't played it in years, and I tried recently. It's just not worth it. I like this system where they make an expansion and then they do an update. They make an expansion and then they do an update. I like this. I don't think my marketing brain here is this word right here is causing the problem. Okay, expansion. It sounds, MMO players are used to expansion, meaning a massive amount of new content. You could argue that adding a couple new ships in the game adds new content, like the Cenotaph and the Tholos. You can't get the Cenotaph and the Tholos unless you use Mercenary Dens, which is a brand new thing. You can argue that that's a bunch of new content, and it is in terms of ripples across the market. But when we think as MMO players expansion, we think like World of Warcraft. I'm an old WoW head, right? Like Legion was an expansion. If they added a new armor set and a new dungeon, you wouldn't call that an expansion, right? You would call that like an update. So I understand the marketing behind this, calling it an expansion to make it feel bigger, because it is an expansion as far as EVE's concerned, but maybe it's a messaging problem that's causing some of the anger. This is again where my marketing brain goes. So I think that this is good. Would I call this great? Maybe, almost. I'm gonna have to see what the expansion is. So this is do you need a high-end PC to play EVE? No, you can use potato mode. There's a literal like low graphics mode. We call it potato mode because it's just, there it is. So let's see what y'all are saying. The new ships are so costly, most players will never see them. Well, I don't really care if most players see them. This is a good conversation actually, because at what point do you make you can make new bro ships? You can make big bro ships. I like the new ships are something to aspire to, right? Like the Tholos and the Cenotaph are expensive, and new players aren't normally gonna fly them. But I don't think there should be new players running around with a ship that is the only damage over time ship in the game, right? It has a unique tool. Tholos and the Cenotaph literally has the breacher pods is the only ship in the game. Should alphas fly that? No, you should have to pay for that, and you should be able to something to aspire to, right? I would love some new bro ships. I would love that. I think that they should introduce Empire mining ships that are in between a Venture and a Barge, that are in the Empire ship tree. That would, if I was like a CSM, and again, I'm not running, I would advocate for something like that, like 4 new mining ships, each in Empire only, right? For Alpha. I would like it to be for Alpha. Literally for alphas. In between, make it like a Tech 1 mining ship for alphas that is not as powerful as a barge, but a little stronger than a Venture. I think that would be kind of cool. That would be kind of interesting. So correct, Remi main. Yeah, like they used to have. You know what I'm saying? So there it is. Oh, y'all like that, huh? Tier 3 frigates. We'll see. See, we can do a lot of new things. We can talk about what should happen, how that happens. The system they have here, I think, is good. Where they put out an expansion, they let the dust settle, then they update stuff. They put out some new content for y'all, they let the dust settle, they update stuff. How they're doing this, I like. A lot of people were upset about, I saw some comments that were like, I can't believe you keep breaking our... Like, people are just angry. The reality is those people are going to be mad no matter what happens. They will literally be upset if CCP Games tomorrow says, y'all, we're doubling the size of EVE. We're also updating all NPC missions, and we're adding alpha miner ships bound to the Empire. There will be people in the forum saying, the game is too big. How are we supposed... I can't... No matter what happens, people are going to get upset. This is good. We'll see what the expansions are before I call it great. So, and we'll see at FanFest. Let's see what they have to say about it, though. Let's see what the devs say about this, okay?
We've laid down the lines for the whole year, and the team is in
A mining destroyer for empires. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, not a cruiser, because the barges are cruisers, right? They're cruiser size. I'd like, right, Lotus. Maybe a mining destroyer for alphas, so yeah.
For the summer expansion. So very, very...
I see a lot of sub-cost rage. The people spending $20 a month literally don't watch my videos. It's skill issue. Don't watch Loru Gaming. I'm serious, chat. If you watch our stuff, we talk to you every couple months. There's a big sale, and you can use it to get Omega for $10 a month. We just finished one. There was a big sale. We showed you on our Patreon, all for free. We put it out to the public. $10 a month if you follow this. And just as a super easy one, if you go to the EVE Online store, and you get the 3-month pack, you get, I love seeing my videos pop up, you get it for $15 a month. Where is the Omega? Okay, you get this, 16. You get $16 a month. That's completely acceptable for a game that most people are playing half of the day, all month. $16. I remember playing WoW $15 a month and was happy, for just $1 more, you get the 3-month bundle and use my code. Okay. I get a kickback. And, if you use the official store, you don't get a discount. You use Marquee store, you get a percentage off. So go use my code on the official store or Marquee. I get a cut no matter what, but you get a discount if you use Marquee store. So go use Marquee store. Thank you very much. So I the people that are complaining about sub costs are, I think, not founded. Because the reality is, if you're playing a game 5 to 7 days a week for hours and spending $16, what is your cost per hour? It's going to be less than $1. You know what I'm saying? So, right? Definitely, Dev. Thank you for that. So it's like paying for Netflix, except you're locked into Reef. Yeah. Now, let's be the devil's advocate, okay? And Rima Main, you're incredible. Make sure you use my code on Marquee, because then you get it for even less money. Rima Main, I want you to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. And on Marquee store with my code is how to do that. Let's say you're in not America, and $16 a month is too expensive for you. I hear you. I don't know how to solve global economic problems. I don't know what to do there. I didn't finish college. I don't know. I could tell you for America and, for Europe, maybe with the pounds, and with Canada, that we typically use dollars or some kind of equivalent. I get that it can get expensive to play a video game. Then just play alpha. Just do free to play. But then
But then I won't have all the features in the game.
Yeah, but right now the world economy is kind of weird. And it's a video game. So if you can play the game for free, and you can do a lot in alpha. You could do Abyss, you can roll around in some exploration frigates with your buddies, you can PvP in alpha ships. You don't have to Omega. So if cost is a problem and you want to fly your Marauders, maybe take a break from paying the game for a little bit and just see what can you fly in alpha and call it a day. Okay? So now you won't be able to PI. But I'm not going to solve global economic problems, Chancellor. Good discussion. Let's see what they say about it.
Very busy time at CCP right now.
Yeah, I bet.
A lot of back and forth, and we have the CSM in this week, so it's the best time of the year actually to come in and have. They both have the opportunity to look at what we're doing for the summer, but they also can help us kind of shape how winter would look like and kind of what the big.
That's a really good point. Shadow says sub games last longest. You are correct. Eve is still going strong, no matter what people say. Eve is not dying. Eve's been dying since the game had came out in the public's eye, and they're wrong. And the public is typically wrong. Rima Main says you won't be able to do PI if you're alpha, but you can start your extractors until the planet is full. That is correct. You can literally load up. Gildy has a pretty good video on this. Gildy is a friend of the channel. Let's see if I can find it super fast, and I'll put it in chat for you. I can't find his video, but that's the channel. Go see if you can find it and go from there. So,
big talking points for winter will be. What we bring into FanFest, because it's a FanFest year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, FanFest returns to Harpa
great.
this year.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it just before. It's the first time we've returned to Harpa since 2018, which is mind-blowing to us. I remember it so vividly as a player. And it's going to be nice to see all the player flags hanging down.
That's a good point too, Keith. Getting a Corp Okay, a lot of people like to support alphas. They'll give you free ships. You know, like if you're, they want you to have a good time. More bodies is good. So if you're free to play, get into Corp that's alpha friendly. A lot of Corps are. So, you know.
And Harpa and just the whole vibe that it brings.
Yeah, I can't believe it's since 2018. Like we're
Crazy.
yeah.
It'll be my first FanFest.
Amazing.
Nice. Me too.
First FanFest. Are you going to be like on stage doing stuff? Are you going to be blending in the
I don't know
crowd?
yet, to be honest. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Nice. Yeah. My favorite part about FanFest here in Reykjavik is just because Reykjavik's so small, when the players come in to visit, you can notice them everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every restaurant, every bar, just every street. You just be like, hey, is that guy talking about Eve? Yeah, I think he is. Or like, oh, I've heard that voice before. I wonder what that guy looks like. And it's so much fun.
That's
yeah,
great.
2018 I had the best thing, like random street, not even in downtown Reykjavik. Like an Eve player walked up to me on a Sunday, like, I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you, but are you CCP Burger? And my son was with me, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Dad's famous.
Believe how
Love that.
cool this was. He was like, there was a random foreigner that came to my dad, and he knew who it was. I was like, yep, I'm famous
That's
for
great.
one weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, my kids don't even like bother. They're
Yeah.
jaded. They're like, hey kids, I'm on the stream. Like, I guess I'll go troll you or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Twitch
True
chat's
E.
just gonna
Blair.
be
Yeah.
full of
Who's
that.
this guy?
Return to Sonic. It's the kids.
It's my kids.
Yeah.
But looking forward for the summer of 2025. I know we were talking about like the expansions, not really just like a moment in time, but kind of like a continuum just before there's going to be stuff, just after there's going to be stuff, kind of building on major themes.
Yep.
And I know since we were talking, you were mentioning that in previous expansions, there were kind of like a lot more of laying foundations. And then this one is going to be a little bit more building on top of those foundations.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
we have, since we started with expansions, there's kind of been a through line. It's about organized goals, trying to help players organize themselves and like core projects and all that. That's kind of a big lane, and we keep investing in it. And we'll continue. We call that strategic investment. We're basically saying like this is something we think is core of the game. So we're going to invest and iterate. So we've basically gone through multiple iterations, multiple expansions on that topic. We have another lane, which is basically a lot about like sovereignty. How does sovereignty work? How do the rules of engagement work? How does dynamic security work? Like all of those things kind of are in that future of war. How do people fight over things and own things? So like each expansion is chipping away at that. And now we're seeing like an iteration further on that, and primarily on top of Equinox Off, because that like a lot of work went into, a lot of thought went into making it really robust, really scalable, and really allowing people to express both what they want to fight for, the resources they want to, and ultimately customize their own space, their colors, what they stand for really. So we will continue on.
This is why it's important to hear what the devs have as a vision. And first of all, McCavity, welcome in. Can we get some 07s for McCavity showing up, enjoying the content? A Loru gaming enjoyer. Good to see you, McCavity. Welcome in, welcome in. This is why it's important to listen to what they say as what their vision is. So the overarching vision is to give players more ownership and more stuff to do, roughly speaking. I like this. And they were saying that last year was about establishing foundations, and now they're going to build upon it. And you kind of already saw that with Revenant, where we had the Skyhook was added, and then they added the mercenary dens are like an addendum to the Skyhook. It's like something you could attach to it, right? Think about that. What other structures in space can we attach something to that change the area? What if it's all of them? What if the upcoming stuff is like mercenary den attached to Skyhook? What if it's like, player owned station in high-sec, you can attach a thing to make something, attach X addendum, attach X module outside of the ship, outside of the station to make something happen. Interesting. Think about this. Any system in Eve that's in Eve can be iterated throughout Eve. So maybe, Param, like how about not just something that I put on my station? What about an offensive thing, right? Like We had a guy, one of the people in our community went to go farm mercenary dens. He went into an opposing Null-Sec alliance's area and dropped a bunch of merc dens, and then was taking the workforce, whatever generated from that, right? The clones, right? He literally did this maliciously. He went into enemy space and dropped this, and then farmed their space, their resources, corrupting them into clones instead of workforce, right? So that's interesting. What if there's more of that coming? You know, think about it. We'll see.
That we are going to iterate a lot on Equinox Sov this year.
We're going to iterate a lot on Equinox Sov this year. So that director's letter, we're going to pull up. I actually have a picture ready because I had this ready to go because I'm a super smart, chat. We're going to pull this image up so we can just make sure we have this like ready to go. We're going to iterate a lot on Equinox Sov this year. Okay. So this is the big point. The 2 expansions, summer and winter, I'm calling it now, are going to be improvements and additions to Equinox. I think we're going to have at least 1 new ship. I'd like to see 2 new ships. We'll see. I think we'll have at least 1 new ship within those 2. We had 5 new ships last year: Cenotaph, Tholos, Squall, Torrent, Deluge. So even having 1 or 2 new ships this year would be enough, I think, just with everything else going on. I think both of these expansions are going to deal with Null still, and the ripples across space. I don't think that high-sec wormholes and all that are going to be left out, as you saw with the stuff last year when they dropped the moon drill. Originally, the moon drill was not going to be used in wormhole space, and then they changed it so yes, it can be used in wormhole space. So I don't think those areas of space are going to be neglected, but both of these expansions, I'm calling it now, are going to be about improving Equinox and sovereignty as a whole. We will see.
Listen to a lot of feedback, like what people want, dynamic resources, etc., etc. And we'll see way more. Can
I play in a solo account, or do I need dupes? Play in a solo account, Zombizzy. I think every working adult gets his or her best experience in EVE on 2 Omegas, 2 accounts. 6 characters, 2 accounts. But if you're just starting, play 1 account. Play 1 account. You don't need the extra. Get used to 1 and then go from there. You don't gotta rush into the most best thing. It's a video game. Play the thing that you're enjoying. And if that's 1 account, do 1 account, you know?
As we get closer to, we're actually in the mid of pre-production at the moment, so we don't have all the answers.
Sick.
But we're definitely 100% investing a lot in that. And then freelance projects, which we've talked about before a bit.
Yeah, and these are really big changes. And we realize that, you know, big changes like these, they need time to percolate, and they need time.
What were we
to
just saying? Percolate.
Kind of live up to you know what we hope they will kind of become. So we don't wanna rush these things. It's better to take kind of smaller steps, really monitor, listen to feedback. You know, we're in very active conversation with the CSM and with thought leaders in the community, and basically allow it to kind of build up slowly. And we've seen this. I mean, this was very successful when we did Photon, for instance. Like just kind of, be quite adamant about kind of forward momentum, but never jump too far ahead.
And it's a really good a really good way to kind of get the changes that are really big that you guys were mentioning. There's no way in a single expansion or patch it would be able to solve every problem, build every system. So just having things that we can build on top of is, you know, really methodical. And it's going to be exciting. I know players are going to be excited to see like what that even looks like when we build on top of things.
Mm-hmm. And it's
I like all this. Basically what I was saying before, right? They're doing a small change. They're doing with an expansion. They're doing an expansion. They're changing a couple things. Then they're updating it after the dust settles. This is good. This is good. I like it. Yeah, right, Nico. Mm-hmm. You know, there's more people in every single thing, you know? We'll see. It's now. Well, let's just keep listening. I was going to talk about what's next, but I think we keep listening.
It's also great to be able to kind of go back a year or so and take a look at the feature set and, you know, how the community has actually taken these tools and how they've made these tools their own in a way. And even if we say that we're iterating on and building on foundation we've already laid, there's plenty of opportunity for for innovation in there, and there's plenty of opportunity for new. It's not just tweaking numbers or changing the shade of green that we're using for something, but there's a lot of opportunity to build new.
There's been a lot of investment in. Also, we're learning how to use Quasar and this tech also behind the scenes, and a lot of it is also about like, okay, we did this last year, and it's almost like we need to kind of update it a little bit because we're on cutting edge of how we work with this. A lot of it is also learning about just adding content to it, like the contribution methods, for example. It sounds trivial to say like, okay, we added, like, why can't we just add more of these contribution methods? It's because of learning how to just work with them. But we're also trying to facilitate game designers to be able to like figure out the code where we can just like add 10, 20 instead of 1 or 2 a year. So we're also trying to unlock that design power. And we're like making good progress. There's a there's a lot of momentum in this.
Yeah.
And it's
So, if I'm hearing this correct, the developers are using a new system called Quasar. I'm not a coder. I don't know what the hell that means. They're using, let's call it a newer system, okay, to make the things that are the back end, the spine, the soul of Eve is the code of Eve, right? And they're doing these things, and they're trying to see how the code works to minimize bugs and all this other stuff. And the more that they make with this, if they make 1 or 2 modules with this new code, if they keep practicing this, then they'll be able to make 5 or 10. Okay, sure. Yo, you're on a beach in Peru? That is sick. Titanicus is living the best life. Change your name to Titanicus Riley because you're living the life of Riley, my friend. It's fantastic.
It's a balancing act for us too. Like it's always about us trying to find something new that we can kind of introduce while we're trying to finish something or really take something to the next level that we started, and maybe dig into the Wayback Machine and say like, it's kind of not working. So all of these things are kind of like we're balancing at the same time.
Right, James, right.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cool to see how this works in progress. And, I think I was talking to CB Trash Panda about the mercenary dens and the mercenary tactical operations, like the little dungeons that spawn because of them. He was so excited because, like, in the future, he knows that this tech could be used for a number of things. Like, I could have someone make their own missions with this thing now. It unlocks so many future doors to look at down the future. But
yeah, and if you
What was I just saying? The things in the game that are in one spot can now be used in a broader area. That's intriguing.
you look at them in like if you look at them next to corporation projects, like there's a lot of interesting overlap that starts to happen there, and this is ultimately, like, I mean, we've been talking about this for years now. We're always trying to give more controls to Capsuleers. Like we want to give, you know, the power to the player and allow them to, you know, if it's customizing, you know, the visuals of their space or their ship or their structure, or, you know, build content for their members, or, you know, set an agenda for what, you know, whatever you want to do. So these are all kind of steps in that direction. Like, how can
you've seen a lot of improvements to corporations and corp projects recently. Now, it's not perfect, right? Maybe the alliance tools, the third-party tools are better for now. But I got to tell you, I don't love the reliance that big corporations have on these like third-party websites, right? I would love more of that to just be in the game, you know. And you already saw like something that alliances do is called SRP, is the ship replacement program. Okay, that was added into the game as something, as a feature in the game. And while it's not perfect, there's definitely some problems with it, right? It's still in the game now. I can literally, my corp can literally say, hey, if you take out X ship, you'll get SRP'd for that ship. And it's in the game. It's not just something that has to be done by hand manually, right? So it's interesting. I am seeing, yeah, Parim, you're right. I'm seeing some like interesting learnings from EVE Frontier kind of bleeding into EVE Online, or maybe both, right? Vice versa. I like that. Give them time. Time is on our side, y'all. Time is on our side. So, you know. They literally have their own IT teams. It's not a joke. It's real. They have an actual IT. I have our corp, our alliance, the KYBERNAUTs out in Pochman. We have our own IT team too, you know?
we give you more control.
Our man Davey.
He's
killing it.
A lot of it's actually inspired
He's doing great, champ. He's doing great.
By what they've built to exist out of the game as well. So like they're filling a need, and we're recognizing that and just kind of giving them a little bit more tools to unleash their creativity.
Yeah, we love player tools, but anytime we can look at those patterns and like find a way to just bring those things in game where it makes sense too. Like,
What did I just say?
It's always another thing that we're trying to balance is like what's a need that people are trying to fulfill outside of the game that we haven't provided yet.
Yeah, and kind of, and in some way kind of lower the barrier of entry, because, having to open up a third-party tool and log in and get into all the nitty-gritty and form an IT department in your corporation to fully connect things. Like, if we can create an intermediary step between you starting the game and having to do that, like, I mean, we're not,
There are some tools that come out on like Reddit or like, I don't normally go to the Reddit chat, but I normally am like, what's a good tool for X? And sometimes they'll talk about it on Reddit, right? I don't want to just log into some third-party tool. I don't want to, That's my big gripe with this game is having so much shit open. Yeah, there it is, So it's just one of the problems is there's already enough menus to read in game. Now I got to go add a game to check that out too. Now, with that being said, I did just literally, as of this video, put out our like PI tool video. So, go check that out, chat. But it's sometimes I think third-party tools are good if they help. Okay, the problem with a lot of this is the third-party tools become so cumbersome that it becomes this thing that you have to do instead of something that is something that helps you, if that makes sense. So, okay, it should, as much of it should be in-game as possible. Yes.
These third-party tools are super powerful, but there's a time and place, for when you should jump into them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the PhD program.
Yeah, it's a PhD.
Something your core.
And inherently also a bit unfair. Like the haves and the have-nots are kind of like, you don't have it and you're not aware that other people have them until you realize.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you're like, okay.
This is a big point. Like, I used to play even like, how'd this guy find me? How does he know where I am? I thought I was in this wormhole by myself. Like, oh, D-scan. Okay, so that was something I didn't know was in the game. I had no idea. I didn't know D-scan was a thing for years. Because I didn't open up my probe menu. Okay, I didn't know. That's why we made a video about D-scan, to show people how to find it. To here's where it is, But it goes beyond that to like, Dotlan and Pathfinder and all these guys that are like using these third-party tools to track in their own corp, like what the literal map of the wormhole is that day. These are, I like how, I forget his CCP name, but this dude is always like, he just like distills stuff and is there it is, boom. Like the haves and have-nots, that's a really good way to put it. There's a learning curve with what tools are good for what. So wormhole mapper, right, exactly. It's one of the problems, it's good those things exist, but it's a problem with Eve that we have to like, should a game be 100% solved in the game and there's no problems and you just have it easy? No, there has to be some learning and some back and forth. But should there be a huge reliance on third-party tools to play the game? No, and we're more towards that. That's not the best. Let's keep it going.
Okay, how could I even been able to catch up with others?
Yeah.
We were actually monitoring core projects based on just like tiny corporation, mid corporation, like small, like just we have like a whole monitoring suite of like just adoption, like how many sub 5 character corporations are using them, etc. And we're actively trying to make sure that like all the directors are aware that these exist, first of all, and then just trying to understand their needs. Like, what do 10-man corporations need the most? Like, is it donation centers, or like is it a different thing, or are we kind of blind and they're missing like a key component so they can start using it? But we're trying to cover our bases, and we listen to the CSM a lot. And so I think we're aiming for like full adoption of these for, I would say, mid to like up to large, and then eventually large and bigger will have third-party alliances, etc. We won't ever cover everything that big alliances are going to do, but we really want to be like keeping an eye out for the little man in this.
It's just good to know that the devs aren't ignoring tiny corporations. There's a lot of core projects, a lot of improvements to how to interact with your fellow Capsuleer that are in your guilds, in your corporation, and it's really good to note that they actually have systems straight up to track the smaller corporations. The ones that are 5 dudes in a corp just want to have a good time, So That's great.
I think what you're saying is Corp projects are awesome, and if
Yes.
you haven't tried them yet, you should go.
Yeah,
check them out.
exactly.
It's always exciting to read like a story that someone will put out on like a blog or even on Twitter. Someone like, oh, my Corp finally built this Astra house, and we were able to do that because we had these Corp projects working for it, and like everyone in different time zones were able to contribute. Even though I always love those. Those are so much fun.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
got those
just to like take this for a second, like it's a very cool thing. Not a lot of games have this sort of a system in them, right? Like, I don't know if any other game really has anything this robust where you can effectively create jobs and missions for players around you to go do. It's a very deep.
It's a really good point that not a lot of games, I don't think big games have that kind of stuff, right? Where we've got, like I've talked about WoW a lot. Everything in WoW is done by the like guild meetings or like Discord or like other things, right? Like everybody go gather stuff for fire resistance potions, or everybody needs to get keyed for Karazhan, or because that's when I was playing back in the day a lot, was in BC. And now you can put that stuff in the game where you can say, hey guys, we're going after building up an Astra house. Here's the things, here's the things we need. Now you have a trackable thing in the game so you can see your progress toward it. It's not as a group. It's not just like a Discord pinned message saying, hey, we need this much more, right? It's something that's better because it's in the game. It makes the barrier of entry much less, and that's really, really cool. So, and that's true. Not everybody has to be in line at the same time. You're totally correct. Yes.
Cool.
yeah, it is very much an Eve thing. To
right,
make other
Qualtech,
people do work for you and probably scam them in the process. Like I can't wait for freeform contracts where people can just do a little bit more of like, hey, you should give me all of the tritanium you have, and in return I'll give you like a thumbs up.
Yeah. Now the analogy of a Merc then that's authored by a player isn't like that far off. Like freelance projects are really about reaching outside of your corporation. Like how do you extend kind of an invitation? How do you kind of matchmaker? So like theoretically you could as a new player be flying in high sec and come upon a mercenary den that someone deployed, but in fact the operations inside are someone's corporations just decided to drop this down and just and then you realize you're working for a player corporation and not an NPC corporation, and then you have like a handshake moment. It's kind of like an icebreaker in that sense. They're like, oh, okay, it is a player. It's not just an NPC. And then hopefully there's a recruitment that happens because we're basically all our onboarding efforts have been around not tutorializing, but just quickening the recruitment. Just as fast as we can get you into a player corporation. Yep. That's our motto.
Yeah, so when we think forward to freelance,
So one of the goals of the Eve devs is as fastly as possible get people onto a player corporation. What do you think about the idea of I've said this a couple times. I don't think you should be put into an NPC corp at the start. I think you should be like other MMOs where you're alone. Because when you're in an NPC corp, it makes it like, well, I'm already in a corp. It kind of, to the new people, it doesn't make sense compared to other MMOs. I get that, like, maybe from a experience side, people are like, well, then they won't have corp chat. Be like, yeah, no kidding. And then when they get into corp now, it's like, now I have corp chat. You know, so I think they should say as part of the, right. Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Right. You know, this is a good idea. You know, maybe as part of the tutorial, they give you the option of joining the base NPC corp with a like warning, like, you know, this is not owned by players. This is owned by the Empire, you know, not a player, you know, like it's an NPC. So, right. It's crazy, you know. Right, you could literally get nothing from it. It's just an ethereal whatever. They should literally make it not a default option when you make a new character. They should make it so that you are having no corp. Because then when you join a corp, it feels different. You're like, now I have corp chat. I have alliance chat. I have, you know, the auth chat, whatever the heck. All of a sudden you have all these things where people are talking. Like, again, I'm going to keep talking about WoW. When I'm not in a guild, everything's kind of quiet. But once you're in a guild, chat's flying. People are in other zones talking to you. You feel more connected. That's what I think they should do. So, you know.
freelance projects, really, it's a lot of it's not only about creating an ecosystem for our existing players, but like you said, kind of shifting that to the sense of building a relationship between corporations and newer players as well, and being able to help them kind of reach out and create a handshake and an introduction that helps bring new people into those corporations and into Eve and into the ecosystem in a more friendly way.
Yeah, there's no guide that we can write that's going to replace,
No, exactly.
a player running into another player and them being like, here's what you need to know.
No new player experience, nothing, no tutorial that will teach you.
And
Yeah.
no missions or no level 3 missions or 4. Like it's never gonna be sustainable. We want people to just help each other complete the first 20, 30 hours together. That's the fastest possible.
And I mean, there are multiple layers to this as well. Like it's we want to get players into new Capsuleers into player corporations as soon as possible, but there are like steps, towards that point. And
It's a hard question to answer because it's a video game. Okay, the devs can't hold your hand. So when you're new, half the fun really is learning how to fly, how to do this, how to do X, Y, Z. The devs can't just hold your hand and be like, this is what you do. That's where they put the onus on the other players to help the people, with the incentive being, if you help somebody, they're going to come back and help your corp and be a better pilot, and then they can help your corp being a better pilot, etc., being a better capsuleer. So that's one of the reasons I make the guys I want to, because I'm trying to help. When I started playing Eve again, I saw that there was still this mentality of there were a lot of people gating their information. A lot of people were not giving their best information out in videos. Maybe they were giving a video out, but it was like, hey, I've been doing this for 2 years and I'm done. So here's what I learned. I research stuff, I test it for like a month, and then I put it out for you. I make sure that you see the stuff getting me ISK. I want to make sure that you get the goodies. So, but I don't hold your hand. And Julian, this is a good point because I know you just said that, and you are correct. There's a lot of people that are, actually it's not a lot, sorry, it's the vocal minority in my comments that are saying things like,
You forgot to do this point or that point, and what about this? What about that eventuality?
if I made a video that was covering the entire topic all the time, it would be a 7-hour video and it would get 3 views. It's not going to do well. I want to make a topic about this, and then if I give you the basics, I expect people to go out and fly their own freaking ships, get into your own trouble, and do your own testing. A good point. One of the recent videos that we just put out was about fixing your fits of the pacifier. And a lot of the comments were like, hey, this is a miss. This is not a good fit. The one you fixed is not good. The one that was as is was good, right? What's funny is the mission was still accomplished. Because even though people say I was wrong, and I probably was, if enough people say I was wrong, whatever, sure. Even though I was wrong, let's say, the discussion happened, and the viewers are the ones that won. Eve players are the ones that actually got the value. It doesn't matter to me if I'm right in a video. I'm going to do my research and do my stuff. What matters to me is that I do my due diligence enough and then put out the information. The players will then help correct me if I'm wrong, because I will be at some point. And then the viewers are the ones who win. So in a similar way, CCP Games has this obligation, let's call it, to make the new player experience good, but they're not going to hold your hand and give you a battleship for free. That's just too much. So I think they're doing a good job on it so far.
The sooner you get into a fleet, I mean, I have to give the MPSI fleets a shout out. I mean, they do an amazing job of getting new players into fleets for the first time, and we see when they join a fleet and they have this human interaction for the first time in Eve, it's incredibly valuable, and
It's all about the social. Freelance projects, even we talk a lot about it because it's really important to us. It's kind of like the culmination. It's we've gone through corporation projects. That's what happens in, and then extending it. We need to kind of figure out the new rules. How do you don't just listen to the directors and can you do approve things. This is more like an opt-in system. But from a Null-Sec perspective or Low-Sec perspective, you're also working you don't have to organize all the alliance stuff. You can just create freelance projects and your kind of affiliation corporations or kind of loosely friend. You can still chip into an alliance project without it being an alliance project. You can just here's useful stuff to do.
Yeah.
And everyone's just flying around and doing stuff.
I love that. I love that so much. Because now that'll make the world feel a lot more organic, right? I don't know if this is a thing right now. I'm not sure. Can you give Corp Alliance projects to non-Alliance members? I don't think that's a thing right now, but if it is, correct me. That's really cool. Because now it's like I'm in an area of low-sec that might be inhabited by other people that aren't in my alliance. And I say, look, I want a 10 billion isogen. No, sir, thank you. Thank you. Let's say I want 10 billion isogen, whatever, pieces of isogen. And I put up like a Corp project for like, hey, give me this. I'll pay you like under JITA prices, but you'll not have to haul it. And I keep seeing this guy keep giving me isogen. And it's like, and I might DM him and be like, hey man, thanks for all the isogen. Just curious. You know, I keep seeing your name pop up. It's like every couple days. You're probably mining when I'm offline. I never see you. Do you want to join our alliance? That's another way to outreach. It's another way to find people, and it gives players another goal without having to have such a I'm in an alliance, I'm not in an alliance. Maybe you're just testing out an area and you don't know how the guys are and you want to see what's up. It's just another option to let there be organic play styles, right? So I like that that's a thing, and that's becoming more of a thing. So, you know, that would be cool if Corps had their own loyalty points. That would be sick. Now we're getting into like what eFrontier is going to solve, I think, with their own currencies. That's kind of what they were saying. We've talked about eFrontier. Let's talk about EVE Online.
Really powerful that.
And it also helps a lot with the freelancer fantasy, like being able to just, you know, fly around doing random jobs for random corporations without you having to be a part of them. And it's way cooler doing stuff for player corporations
or CCP authoring them.
Yeah, or actually authoring them, yeah.
And I mean, as a newer player, like just being able to log in and like look at work I can do for other people that makes me feel like I'm contributing to something meaningful is also...
You can make them an EVE. Can you get corporation loyalty points if you're not in the corporation? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, what do I think of them, Davencio? I think they're good.
really powerful.
Yeah, you might not be in that big battle, but hey, I remember that I recognize that name.
Yeah.
They had built Stiletto.
Exactly.
Oh, that Stiletto got tackled. Like, you can kind of trace it back all the way to
yeah. And also, these projects, I mean, they self-balance because they are not generating new ISK into the ecosystem. It's just movement of ISK that already exists. So it doesn't really matter if a corporation decides to pay, 1 trillion per unit or 1 ISK per unit. Like, that's just down to the players if they participate or not. But if an NPC project pays 1 trillion, like, the balance of the universe will shift.
It'll definitely affect the MEA.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. If they add a mission that's a repeatable NPC mission that gives billions of ISK, screws trillions, even billions of ISK, that's going to get abused. It's going to get camped. There's no way to regulate something like that because it's just too big. Dead sites right now have that's even tens of millions, and those are camped. Those are PvP'd. If they make it so that the players are giving out the quests, the contracts, the things, then it ends up being that the players are the ones moving the ISK around, and there's a base of ISK generation, but the players are the ones dictating where that ISK goes. So if there's a NPC quest that gives 100 billion ISK and it's repeatable, then that ISK is just hitting the market every single time somebody completes it. So it's being created. This will cause some inflation, I think is what they're trying to get at, right? Versus if a corporation says, hey, I want 1 million trit, it's not, the trit isn't coming from nowhere. The trit's coming from another player, right? So the ISK is just moving around, and you have a healthier economy if the players are the ones dictating where the ISK goes and is made into, not if you want to, here's how it sounds like. If you want to just play a factory simulator where you put in time and you get more money, just go play Satisfactory, or just go play any of those other games where you can build any single player game, even No Man's Sky, right? Even No Man's Sky is something similar. But if you want to play a game that's got organic player interactions, that's kind of what they're really going for as an ethos, as a core. I like this.
It's a great point.
Yeah. Okay, but looking a little bit more deeper at 2025, we got the 2 expansions that you were chatting about. Mm-hmm. We also have some events that players can kind of look forward to expecting. CCP Okami, you were kind of talking about Capsuleer Day a little bit before. Tell me a little bit about any tips or tricks or hints.
Well, so I think Capsuleer Day has become a staple for us now. We're seeing it happen pretty regularly, and you can expect it again this year. But there's going to be some differences. I don't want to really spoil what those are at this point, but we're looking at making some updates to it, and maybe integrating it into parts of what Revenant is in some ways.
Okay.
So we've been talking a lot.
So this is good. There's been a lot of complaints about how Crimson Harvest and Winter Nexus are the same every single time. Capsuleer Day is similar, where these are like yearly events, seasonal events, right? And there's been some complaints that these are solved, that they're not a lot of fun because it's just another grind for Skinner stuff, which is good. I actually like that they're doing for Skinner parts now, because then you can do it and you're rewarded if you get to the end with like a really nice Skinner thing. But it sounds like Capsuleer Day is going to be something slightly different than what it has been in the past. Okay, interesting. We'll have to see what that means. I like that they're kind of shifting it a little bit. We'll see what that becomes.
A lot about what like players have been up to, but the New Eden has been doing some stuff as well. Like if people haven't been paying too much attention, CZ Burger, what's been going on? What have the Drifters been up to? What's the Deathless doing?
Yeah, there's been some quite a lot of activity from in 2024, and it's been interesting to follow, especially what Mr. Deathless has been up to, and he's been wreaking havoc as he claimed that he would do, and been very active in developing a new type of war clones, the Vanguard war clones, and those they've actually been testing that technology. It's reported that they've been testing that technology on the surfaces of planets in New Eden, and in some cases actually shifting the balance of power with contributing to insurgencies, and so that's been very exciting. That is also kind of kicked an old.
I want you to see that we're talking about Vanguard. Okay, we're talking about Vanguard, and this is good. I think that Vanguard's success is EVE Online success, especially when they're marrying these two together. I can tell you that they already have a base of Dust 514 and 5, whatever you want to call it, 514. It failed. We talked about that at length. I think Vanguard's going to be good. If it's not, we're going to talk about it, right? I think if you want EVE Online to be successful, you need Vanguard to be successful. And I'm not saying if you don't like FPSs to play Vanguard. I'm saying that what I think they're going to do is heavily incentivize EVE players to find their buddies that play FPS games and go, dude, can you play Vanguard for us? Like, we need you to go on planet and go rescue some stuff and get some stuff for our Corp. I think they're going to make it more integral to EVE. They've said that you're not going to have to play Vanguard if you play EVE, but it's going to be something that you're going to be aware of. Interesting how they're going to get that done. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see. Now, this was basically a lore update. We'll see what that means.
Old enemy back into gear. So we saw the Drifters take quite an offense to the Deathless late last year, and they managed to be. Yeah, the Deathless managed to kind of kick them out of Sarsak.
With the help of the Capsuleers.
With the help of the Capsuleers, and but I think it's quite obvious that they haven't said the last word. Yeah.
Well, I think some cool things we've learned a little bit for the lore nerds who have been digging more about the identity of the Deathless in this expansion in Revenant. And speaking of Zarzek, the Deathless were sitting on top of some interesting technology that they weren't even aware of until Revenant kicked off, which was the Warden. So the structure that's appeared there, where you can go kind of trade in your infomorphs for mercenary dens and Deathless ships, and rewards like that. So this is...
We know who the Deathless is. It's some big bad guy, but do we know who the heck he is? I have no idea.
Clearly built a tension between the Drifters and the Deathless that continues to perpetuate not only throughout the sort of build-up and sort of inception of Revenant, but throughout. And so I hope that very soon you might see a little bit more of that coming as well.
But it's I mean, there must be a reason why.
Are we going to get a Drifter faction that we can interact with? God, I hope not. My standings for the Drifters are terrible. Terrible. We'll see about it. We'll see about it,
Why the Drifters are interested in this, in Sarsak. And I think it's quite obvious that we've only scratch the surface of
Yeah.
what Zarzak
I think that while the tension and the conflict is very visible, sort of the kind of underlying mystery of it is yet to unfold.
Nice. Well, hopefully we can learn a little bit more about that. And yeah, we shared a lot about Capsuleer Day, Crimson Harvest, Winter Nexus, but there are kind of like these events that pop out that are related to the story a little bit where people can get involved. So we really should kind of just keep an eye out for that.
A little lore update, nothing crazy. We'll just keep it going. So nice, dude. Yo, good job killing some stuff with one of our Stratios fits. Nice job. So, yo, thanks, JK. Appreciate it.
Maybe
thanks for killing it.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe you can help
Welcome
write
back
the
after
story
10
out.
years.
What the Deathless are getting up to, or maybe you'll be supporting the
Welcome back.
Drifters. I know we can never figure out what players are going to do. We've given up trying to like.
What he just said, listen, Chant, they're talking about this. Are we going to end up supporting the Drifters or supporting the Deathless? I think you're going to end up having ways to support whatever faction you want. God, I don't know about that, dude. I don't know. We'll have to see.
To understand what they'll do. I just like say, anything can
Let
happen.
go.
Yeah.
We can have another Potchfin, right? We can have another Potchfin for the Drifters. We can have another Potchfin for the Deathless, where like more systems get claimed by the Deathless and are like moved into his area. I think that'd be interesting. I don't know, man. I don't know.
But yeah, between now and the summer, there's also a couple things that we're kind of keeping an eye on very actively. Projection, of course, is one of those topics. Last year, we chatted a lot about projection, made a few changes. Equinox saw the number of Anzablex jump bridges be reduced just by virtue of how they are. Zarzak, the gate polarization that the Deathless put in place, made that less of a super highway and more of just like a place where you can go and then hop to the front lines.
That was a big change. It was a big change. When Zarzak came out, people very correctly were like, oh, this is like one of the best ways to get to Nullsec now. So people were just going there. There was so much traffic going in now just as a highway. And then they changed the gates, so now it's not as much. You can still use it for that, roughly speaking. But as Swift says, it's not just like you will go there now, so. Okay.
But, kind of, what do we have in plan for projection in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we can start talking about what healthy projection looks like first, and then how we want to get there. I think for us, healthy projection is really about looking at player mobility, Capsuleer mobility in the game as a whole, and saying like there's a concept of local traversal. So I can travel within my owned sob space, do the work, do the regular things I like to do. But when it comes to bigger battles and response times, that sort of like feeling of a super highway where I can just get to the other side of the galaxy right now feels it's a little bit too easy to do that. It's too easy to be responsive.
Oh,
and so that really creates.
Sounds like, let me translate in the nomenclature. Sounds like we're going to get either a nerf to filaments or a nerf to sinos in the coming time. Sinoing, if he says it feels too easy to respond to something far away, that's sinos, dude. And filamenting is part of that too. Right now, you can pop a filament, you end up at some random nullsec spot, right? I think that's necessary. I think that's something that lets Null be more vibrant, is these filaments that it's not just the fights are happening on the borders. You're not totally safe if your 15 jumps in with your Rorqual and Hulks. You always have to have some kind of net of protection. I think that's good. Nerf to Ansiblexes? Maybe. I know they nerfed to Ansiblexes. Maybe they're going to nerf Sinos more. Now you might say, please, no more Sino nerfs. We'll see. I'm not sure if that's what they're saying, but I'm saying they're just saying, hey, they want, it sounds like they want more onus on the local support. You be able to like support what's around you easier, and then have responses be less instant. You're not going to not be able to respond, but what there might be going for is less instant responses, right? Like, oh, we see people over there. Pop, we have a Sino. Yep, pop a Sino. Hey, we're 12, whatever the hell, 10 light years away. What's the Black Ops range? Is it 3? Is it 3 AU? I don't remember. I think it's like low. Point is, maybe that's what they're going to do. So, Pliers, why are you not fighting wars in Null? CCP devs. Hey, we know you're not fighting wars. Now let's limit your movement more. Maybe, Syncline. Maybe. Is it 8 AU? Thank you. So, it's interesting to see. That will hurt Low-Sec guys? Maybe. Let me put it to you this way. Do I think there's a problem with defending your local area? I don't think so. I think that when they talk about projection, they're talking about what I think it means. How much force does correct Bada, thank you. How much force does one player or a group of players have? So if I have 5 accounts and I'm sinoed in and I can let everybody go, my net is much wider. My alliance, if they have sino alts every 3 jumps, our net is wider, right? We can respond very quickly to stuff. We'll see how they're going to try to fix that. So, oh, dude, Devin, I love it. Let's keep seeing what he says.
It's a sense of like too high risk for people to want to mobilize and other things. So we really want to look at that sort of.
Let me rewind that.
Made that less of a super highway and more of just like.
Is really about looking at player mobility, Capsuleer mobility in the game as a whole, and saying like there's a concept of local traversal. So I can travel within my owned sob space, do the work, do the regular things I like to do. But when it comes to bigger battles and response times, that sort of like feeling of a super highway where I can just get to the other side of the galaxy right now feels it's a little bit too easy to do that. It's too easy to be responsive. And so that really creates a sense of like too high risk for people to want to mobilize and other things. So we really want to look at that.
It creates a sense of it being too high risk for people to want to attack. Okay, to mobilize, because he's saying the responsiveness. Hey, there's a fleet. Pop, get him in. Boom, done. So it might be the Ansiblex, yeah. It might be Syncline. It might be. Yeah, I listening to y'all talk, I think they might be talking about the Ansiblexes, yes. So I'm not sure, Yuri. I don't know a lot about home fronts, actually. It's one of the things I haven't looked into. They're great, but I'm not sure about them. So I think, regardless of the change we see, what they're going to try to do is make it so you incentivize attacking. So right now, defending feels strong. I think that's what he's saying. A little too strong. So much so that people are de-incentivized to attack. So the pendulum is kind of swinging too much to the defenders. So what they're looking at is a way to swing it back a little bit towards the attackers. I do think the defenders should have the priority. They should have 55% in, let's call it, most cases, right? Because the defenders have worked to own the space. They should, against other players, they should have more tools, whatever. The attackers, though, should not be like straight up like, yeah, I'm just not going to do it because they're just going to, it's just too easy. So it's interesting.
Sort of long range projection and sort of make the healthier sort of shorter term home space traversal still feel accessible to people. So that I think that's what we're working towards in terms of healthy projection.
How do you make short jumps more accessible without making these long frickin' very easy to respond to, it's far away, but it's easy to respond to things. So it sounds like they're going to be nerfing in the coming months, in the summer expansion probably, longer projection tools, whatever that is, whether it's Ansiblexes or filaments or Sinos, whatever, we'll see. But they're going to make it easier, maybe not easier, but make it more accessible for short to medium responses. This, I think, is a... I don't know exactly what projections mean, Wolf. I think what they mean by projections are how much power does a small fleet / a player have. If the net that small fleet has is 20 jumps with whatever tools they have, I think that's too much, maybe, is like what they're saying. But if it's like, we have 5 jumps, okay, then now we need another fleet over there, another fleet over there. We'll see. It's interesting. So... Well, this is what I'm saying, Syncline, is no one attacks now. So they're just limiting projection will reduce the desire to attack more. No, I don't think so. And I think what they're saying is right now the power is solely in the defenders because they can respond so fast. So they want to add some way to incentivize attackers. How that is, I don't know. We'll have to see. So it's just something that we'll have to see what the devs do. So
this really isn't a problem that you just take a hammer to, though.
Right? Yeah.
I've learned.
Got to be subtle.
When it comes to trying to solve this one, it's something that we have to take small steps towards. So we're constantly doing that. We're constantly looking at things like who can travel through gates. in the future, maybe types of gates that you can have, different styles, but position.
Types of gates. Again, we're seeing eFrontier kind of bleed in, huh? What if in Null-Sec you could restrict a gate to subcaps? Now you might say people don't jump their capitals through stuff. Dude, if you're attacking, maybe that's what you do. What if they can make a force field bubble? Go with me here, chat. Okay, just follow my rabbit hole. That stops people from signing into certain areas for a certain amount of time, right? You know, but then you can't restrict your gate. Something like that, you know. It's, they want to change gate types. Maybe. We'll see if what that does.
Positions.
Like imagine you're in a system where only cruisers can get in. Right? So you have to bring big cruisers. Maybe. We'll see.
Of gates and where they're at and how that impacts the overall travel time. And so I think you can expect to see some of those changes kind of coming up in the near future as we iterate towards solving this sticky, tangly problem.
That would be that is a sticky, tangly problem. That would be very incredible, I think. I don't know really what to think about that. I'm going to have to see how that's implemented, because instead of me talking about what I think it'll be, if how gates function are a core part of Eve, one of the most different, there's two different gates. There's the gates in Pochfin, which require reputation to get through, and there's wormholes. Wormholes are a gate, technically. So if we have wormholes are limited in when they are opened, but also what can go through depending on what's on the other side. So maybe they're taking those learnings and they're going to like do that in Nullsec maybe. Maybe you like find a solar system near your Nullsec system, but it's only gotten there through a new gate type that only lets in cruisers because of the crystal that you use in the charger. Something like that. I don't know. It's interesting. That would be a cool way to expand Eve. We'll have to see how that goes.
Without
Got my gears turning, chat.
making it worse for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Like the right sacrifices. So like the economics of the old fuel and ISK basically, or like almost reduced to ISK, isn't enough to balance a system like this. So that's where workforce and those planetary resources come into play, where we can actually play with like, okay, if you want that kind of mobility, you're going to have to cough up a lot of like resources to do so.
All right. Okay, now we're kind of getting down to what they're actually thinking. It sounds like what they're doing. If I was a betting man, and I'm normally not, okay, they're going to make the quick response ability of the Anzaplex, of the long range Sino, whatever you want to call it, something that only corps that have access to skyhooks can do reliably, making it you have to be the big alliance in order to have access to the best responses, the best response fleets, the longest range response fleets, okay? If you're a little corp and you're an NPC null and you only have one skyhook, you're not going to be able to do as much, maybe with some kind of Anzaplex that's like skyhook powered, because what he was just saying is that they're trying to make it so that, let me just rewind it so I can get his exact verbiage, because it was very specific.
Mm-hmm. Like the right sacrifices. So like the economics of the old fuel and ISK basically, or like almost reduced to ISK, isn't enough to balance a system like this. So that's where workforce and those planetary resources come into play, where we can actually play with like, okay, if you want that kind of mobility, you're going to have to.
Right. If you want that kind of mobility, you have to do a thing that gathers resources that is only from null. So if you want that kind of mobility, whatever they mean by that, you have to have a skyhook, at least in this case, and generate resources that are only really gotten in null en masse. I know it's other places, chat, but whatever. So they're making it so instead of let's make travel more expensive, let's make longer travel. You need to be established in an endgame area that generates it, making longer range travel exclusive to bigger alliances that are established in the endgame areas. I like that. Again, we'll have to see how it shakes up or out, but I like it.
cough up a lot of like resources to do so. And we've been testing those things with the metanoxes, for example, just like tuning a little bit.
Might be a buff bleeding.
And this and here. So we are taking baby steps, probably frustratingly small baby steps at the moment. Like
Gotta do
certainly
it.
for me, like I've been hoping to kind of get more traction on this. This has been an ongoing concern for a pretty long time.
Sure.
But smaller steps are better, and we have been kind of trimming, and we'll continue to trim. Probably it's going to be. It's mostly about trimming projection at the moment.
Okay.
Until we find the right balance.
Mostly about nerfing what's already in the game right now, until we find the right balance.
And stuff like. But if you want to, more, it's going to cost this. And this.
Okay, so what I think they're going to do in the coming years, they're going to nerf whatever they're thinking of nerfing, so that longer range response fleets are more expensive, not in ISK, but in T2PI Skyhook is what I call the stuff from Skyhook. Workforce, magmatic gas, all that stuff. They're going to make it more expensive so that you have to have a Skyhook. Skyhooks are not just about the ISK to make a Skyhook. Once your Skyhook is up, you can get, I think we said Dread is the max level NPCs that come in. I thought there was Titan NPCs that come in here too, right? Reagents. Thank you, Syncline. Thank you. You have to use reagents. I got to tell you, I like this idea, because what this idea of if you live and have sovereignty in a certain area of space, so you can do bigger, better things, that idea is really awesome. I would love them to kind of get this right with Null, and then move it out to wormhole space, and then move it out to Pochfin. There's got to be a way to make like Pochfin specific, red light plasma, whatever, wormholes. That one wormhole we were in the other day that has a literal black hole. Be like black hole antimatter that we gather out of that sun, and then that's for wormhole specific stuff. So maybe the like null buffs, maybe the null things you can do are the people with reagents are better at longer range responses. Maybe the wormhole stuff you can get is you can use materials, you can use this antimatter in this case to keep the wormhole open for longer. Instead of it closing in 2 days, you can keep it open for like a week, and then you can keep that highway going, but you have to pay wormhole generated mats to do that. I'm just spitballing. Then maybe in Pochfin, it's like, okay, you want to have like more sleepers, more combat nodes spawn. You have to work with the Triglavians and give them more items so that they find more stuff in the subsystem in this like atomic world that kind of comes out into our world. But you have to gather it in Pochfin, and it gets stuff in Pochfin, because this school of thinking is like, we're going to be in Null, get stuff that's only in Null to be able to do Null better. I don't know if that's what's happening. I think this is just, I'm extrapolating out this to like, 10 years in the freaking future when this is like a thing. So,
Trimming,
You're gonna have to trade these things.
Space topiary.
Yes, there's a little bit of. So I think that's healthy, and I feel that the community and the CSM are kind of all in agreement. It was too much. We need to cut it a bit down until we're kind of in a better place.
But I think we recognize
Sure.
that it's a thing that we want to work on.
100%.
And every time we take an iteration, every time we release, we're looking at taking a step towards making it better.
sure.
And I mean, we're not trying to lie to ourselves that there is a silver bullet to solve it. It will be solved through work and iterations.
Yeah, I think
Choices.
it's really nice to hear from you guys.
Question in chat, did you talk about the marquee dragon packs that are out? I did talk about it at the start of the stream. Are they worth it? The short answer is, I think they're just barely worth it. I wouldn't, this is not like the last pack they had where I was like, oh my God, guys, you have to get it because it's such a good deal. It's like hilariously so. This is the Lunar New Year pack. There's two of them. There's the $20 one and the $53 one. Look, this one has Omega. This one doesn't. But this one has more Plex. You're getting your money's worth. You are. But it's just like barely so, So I don't like fully recommend it. Get it if you want the skins and if you want the good stuff. And always you can use my code. That's code LORU to get it for cheaper. You get it for cheaper and I get a cut as well. So if we come in here and I do one of these. We can see if I type in LORU, you'll see this discount thing pop up. I know it's not a lot of money, but you get the same items you're already buying for cheaper. So definitely go check that out. Use it for Omega, skill points, whatever, to get all your items for cheaper. Thank you very much for the hundreds of you that use it. Really appreciate that. Literally hundreds of you used it last time. So
I think a good system.
We continue.
And kind of what we're working towards, rather than like, oh, we're going to do this one thing. And then, in 5 years, we'll look at it again. Like, no, we got to get there. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Another thing that, players, if you've checked out the MER or you're like anywhere where people discuss the economy, one thing that players are kind of concerned about that you guys also look at pretty regularly is things like the mineral price index,
Here we go.
cost of plex, the state of the economy in general in terms of sinks and faucets. Like, what does that kind of look like for your day-to-day?
Great question.
To start, maybe I'm going to get a little philosophical here, and then we can get into the practicals.
Yeah.
The challenge we have with balancing a game like Eve is that Eve is both a simulation and a game, right? And so I think when you're simulating a robust economy like this, part of what you want to do is to preserve that simulation. So if something starts to grow or spike, you need to rely on the fact that there is this robust player-driven economy that can self-balance. However, it's also a game. And at some point you have to look at like, well, is this actually good or fun or interesting, or is it making people frustrated and driving them away? And so there's this careful balance that we always take as we're seeing these things happen, about not just taking a big swing and a big axe and just like having something or doubling something and saying like, well, what is the real impact of this and what's the real solution? Because sometimes
I got to pause there because I have a big message for Eve players. I know that there's a movement right now. We talked about it before. Make mining great again. MMGA. Saw it. Mining prices are big. They're up. Why is it CCP Games' job to solve that? Why is it the devs' job to solve higher mining prices? Shouldn't this be up to the Null Corps and the Wormhole Corps? You saw the MER. You and I saw that the most ore that is mined by a lot is in Nullsec. That it's then I think it was HiSec, I think. So if we're talking about how to fix ore prices, how can we as the players go in and solve how to fix ore prices? So, and a lot of people are saying this, Inclined, you're right, because the changes they made are causing a lot of upward swings. Is it because the systems are bad that they changed? Or is it because the systems are just a change that we have to let time correct? I don't know. I don't know this answer, and I don't think any one of us have this answer, because it requires you to really have a very macro view of what's going on, because they're already manipulating it by restricting where the ores are. Well, they're not. I know you're talking about the new Null-Sec spots, but I don't know if that's manipulating things. I think it's just a change. Literally, got a massive amount of merc from the game. There it is. Less ore. No more giant sites. Oh, there is no more giant sites. You're right. It's the capitalist. I don't think it's the capital. Here's what I'll say. I'm unsure if you mean they or CCP Games? That's another conversation. I'm unsure if the ore prices being so high are because we have to find a new way to adapt, or if it's just not a good change. I hear a lot of people in Null saying like, look, they removed the giant sites, they made it harder to do, blah, blah, blah. They made ore harder to get. Sure. Maybe we should tweak stuff. Maybe we should add back in giant sites. But we've only had a couple months, right? We've only had a couple months, so I just don't know what's going on with that. So CCP changed the system, so they need to be at least willing to do some adjusting for long-term health. And I think that's what they're talking about, just to be very clear. We've heard a lot of this has been slow-moving, baby steps, updates. They're going to change some things. So the CSM Summit is happening this week, and probably right now while I'm talking, okay, as of the recording of this video. So I think they're going to address this full speed ahead. I agree that the recent removal of certain sites are, of course, going to have a market impact. But why did they remove it? My understanding, they removed the giant sites because it made Null way too Now the only place to mine is Null, basically, because you have these giant asteroid belts that are made for Rourke walls and stuff like that. But then what's the point of a Rourke wall, right? Like, why even fly a Rourke? Why is it even in the game if there isn't a massive freaking, asteroid belt to just munch on with all of your other hulks, right? It's something to be discussed about, and this is why I don't want to be a CSM, because there's so many macro things to consider, and I don't have all the facts, and I don't know what the right thing to do is. I'm simply posing the question for y'all, for the people in chat, and feel free to comment on the YouTube video as well. What I think should be done is a small change from CCP games, and it sounds like that's what they're trying to do. And then we see what happens. Q1, they said they're doing Revenant updates. Okay, well, let's see them update a couple things and see what changes with the ore prices. What I'm trying to say is, like, I don't, since, as the man says, as CCP Awesome Beard says, and I'm not saying that disparagingly, dude has a freaking sick beard. I don't think it's CCP Games' job to, like, well, there's
high ore prices. They better do something to change the ore prices.
I agree that the reason there's high ore prices now are because they made some changes that made the ore prices go up. So maybe they should tweak it to help it go back down. But I don't want to just default to, they made a change, it's their fault, they have to fix it. Even if that is the best way to do it, I'd rather slow roll a fix and let the players try to see if we can solve it ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it is a video game, and there's going to be nerfs and balances, and at least CCP Games is like trying to fix things that might be broken. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. CCP plays a big role in prices. Ubiquitous gas crashed at 99% after the update, and it killed people doing low-sec ND. That is true. That sucked. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like that change. When I saw that change, I was like, oh my God, they're making this so much easier. When I saw the gas plummet, I was like, oh no. Like Mike O'Saracen used to be like gold. You would find it and be like, oh my God, Mike O'Saracen. I got some Myco. It'd be like, oh, I found some Myco. Oh my God. You would get like all your prospects and like try to get it. Now it's like, I found some Myco. Yeah. All right. Well, it like doesn't matter anymore. Right. So I agree that there's some problems. You're never going to have it be perfect. What I'm trying to propose to you is keep giving your feedback in a productive way to the CSMs and to the devs. Because what we're seeing, the theme of this director's letter be slow changes over time that they reserve the rights to edit and shift, trim, add to as needed based on what the core ethos is, right? So I agree with the sentiments that there needs to be some update to mining right now. Totally agree. So if someone says like,
Loru shields for CCP Games.
I get these comments like at 1 in 10 comments, and let the vocal minority be who they are. I think that there needs to be some kind of change based on what y'all are saying in the stream today from the devs. I also think that we have to do our part to try to solve the puzzle that the devs put for us. Because if the puzzle is hard and it impacts stuff, all the more great it's going to be on the other side when somebody figures out how to do this right and how to find a way to get their ship's production under all this other stuff when the market bounces back, right? So I do think that CCP Games should have some kind of small change, though, because, yes, the recent mining changes have been a pain point. So makes sense. So
Sometimes it's not just changing a number. Sometimes it's taking the time to make more content around that thing.
And this is a really good point, Syncline. Even if it is a ball drop, I trust that the devs are going to be able to look at this and edit it as needed while still letting the players find fixes for what's in there, because you might say it's a ball drop. Sounds like a bigger problem for us to solve, for us to be able to figure out, because every problem is just an opportunity, right? If Merc is really high in price and defending the sites are really hard because there's not a lot of it, no, whatever, where else can we get Merc? How else can we go figure out where Merc is? And, there's Merc in Pochvin, right? Like, get more fights out in Pochvin, which gives more content to Pochvin, which makes more defense. And all of a sudden we're playing in Pochvin more. This is kind of what I'm talking about is, this is exactly what I'm saying. I don't think there's one silver bullet, as they've said. I think they should change some stuff, but I also think the conversation on Reddit and these other places where there's just a lot of vocal, very yelling doomers, is they think it's only CCP Games' job to solve this. I think no matter what happens, it's also the player's job, maybe more so in this case, maybe, to solve the puzzle and figure out how we can really do this. Can you imagine if one of the big alliances figures out how to get a system down to make their ships better and to deal with, call it the Mercox shortage, the Mercox, I can't pronounce the word, with a Merc shortage, they'll win. Maybe that's a thing. If it isn't, if it's not possible to solve the puzzle, now we need to do this. So,
too. So definitely, like on a day-to-day
good conversation.
basis, like we're looking at the the MER as often as it comes out. We're always in DMs together, chatting about it. It's a real thing, and just trying to figure out, discussing with the CSM too, and you, what the real solutions are.
And right, if all the Merc is gone, then add a side in, add it back. That's it.
To some of these challenges.
Yeah. Just identifying this. Is it an issue? Noise isn't an issue, but noise can be definitely an issue. And I think we could go back in time and kind of talk about things that we were trying to address, for example, isogen or cost of battle shift, etc. So there have been movements behind the scenes of like, okay, we have targets, so we're trying to kind of at least facilitate these things. We don't have like a battleships must cost X. Like we don't have those kinds of things, but we kind of are thinking like, what's the healthy like threshold? When do people become frustrated because it is a game, versus like whatever, like battleships are 1 trillion. Like the market will solve itself. We don't want that. We want to have like there are design philosophies and principles where we're like, yeah, but we also just want to have fun in battleships or dreads. So we are always looking out for a thing. We are keeping an eye out for mineral prices right now, but we're also looking at the CPI and thinking, okay, there's a discrepancy between those. What does that mean? Reality. Isogen is dropping, Morphite is going up.
Yep.
Sure. Is it a short-term, mid-term, long-term thing? We have to see.
Okay.
Is it a real problem? Is it stopping things that people really want to do, like capital construction? So we're basically sensing this.
They're looking at it.
We're looking at data every day, not just the MER, and we're debating these and like, is there something missing? Is there a hidden cost? Whatever. So
and looking for those right solutions.
Yes, we just not pumping something in just for the sake of it. So we are monitoring 100%, and we're debating it all day long. And we are also have been iterating more than we have been in the last couple of years and the last couple of months, I think.
Yep.
Just before the expansion, we were dropping like both economic changes for Podgven, for wormholes before that.
Yep.
Changes in anomalies, distribution.
Been a lot of changes.
Rates, cooldowns, like all of these things are kind of being, like we're using the tools. We're using what we have, and I think we'll just continue doing that.
Yeah,
it's a really good point. So I just want to make it clear that like at the end of the day, we're talking about a video game, right? That we all know and love. So the video game needs to be fun. So if the devs make changes that makes the game less fun, we're going to call that out. But it is the habit of the doomers on Reddit and various places to say that, everything is terrible all the time, no matter the changes. So I'd like the conversation to be less, they must fix it every single time, blah, blah, blah. We've already said that I think they should fix something with this because, right, they straight up sounds like they removed the Morphite. Price went up. Yeah, no kidding. So maybe we add something back in. I'd like the default to be like, okay, everybody else is saying Morphite's very expensive. If it's very expensive, how do I go get some Morphite? Instead of like, they should change it. Does that make sense? So it's interesting. So you're right, AI. You are correct. People do feel entitled. And we have to make sure that we're like, hey, how can I do something? It's not just hey, they can do something for me. So new player, been playing other space games, and mining Elite Dangerous is very engaging and active and rewarding. And even it's like watching paint dry. There it is. Then don't mine. Some people love mining. It feels like an RTS. It's something you can do. You got multiple accounts, get a bunch of ships. You don't have to do something, the way that everyone else does it. You can do it how you want to do it. I have to play Elite Dangerous, chat. Maybe I should add that to the list. You know what I'm saying? So
that's been a huge shift in the way we think about things and kind of approach them. Is not necessarily just waiting for those.
Do I think people in Null should be self-sufficient? I don't know. It's a great question. I don't know that, Davencio. That might be the only question. Should the people in Null-Sec that are far from the security space of high-sec, should they be self-sufficient? I don't know. Yes, some people like mining. It's not, you don't have to do every activity in the game. It's a video game, right? If you like how Elite Dangerous does it, then do that. So I don't know. That's a really good question. I would probably say not self-sufficient, but gun to my head, I'll probably say not self-sufficient. But if it's like, what is your actual stance? Yeah, I just don't know, because I don't know enough about the macro. So, we'll see.
Expansion beats, but just making sure that we're constantly dripping in and tending to things that need to be tended to. And I feel like it's been a really good strategy for us as a game. And I think that, I hope everybody feels it too. And we just want to kind of continue that sort of cadence and flow of just building a reliable and stable sort of cadence of smaller changes to the game that you guys can just feel and maybe impact not just the main focus area of, let's say we're working on Salve, but you can notice something in Pashvan or in the wormholes or something too.
But it's a lot about defining what the problem is that we're trying to solve, rather than just doing random stuff. It's easy to get 1,000 ideas, but it can be really challenging to kind of break down the issue at hand and finding what the core of the problems are.
These are not simple problems.
Where we've been spending a lot of time.
Yeah, and you guys were actually just kind of touching on this a little bit. In some games you have an expansion moment, and then you don't hear anything for 6 months, then there's another one. You guys were kind of talking about doing stuff between expansions, how it's a bit more of a continuum than just this fixed point in time. What does an expansion mean for EVE Online?
Great question.
Well, there's been, I think, a little shift over the past year as well.
Yep.
And how we're thinking about expansions. It's not just being that moment in time, like you said. I think in the past we've tended to build up, and you've seen that in both terms of narrative and events and things happening in the game. And then the lights come on, and there's a bunch of new content and features, and then we wait until the next one. And maybe there's some events like Capsuleers Gate in between. But the way we're really thinking about expansions now is it's a period in time. It's from one point to the next point, and then the next expansion starts. So all those releases that you're getting, all the little tuning updates and all those sort of narrative beats and moments, they're all part of the expansion now. We're really thinking of creating a build up to that moment where we turn the lights on and we release new features, new ships, new things like that. And then little beats along the way that kind of keep you enticed and involved in a story, and participating in how the universe might unfold and change, and even how some of the future expansions might even happen as well. So really it's a full duration and not just that point is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the start of the stream when we were talking about how they're doing the various expansions. It's not so much an expansion as more of it's a point in time, and now there's some new stuff to do. It's not an expansion. It's more hey, there's some things. And yeah, it's here's a bunch of stuff we've been building towards. There's been more content added to EVE in the last 2 years than there has been probably the previous period, I think. I would say there's been more content the last 2 years than in the last 4, Now, they took out some mining sites, fine, sure, whatever. We'll see.
I think it's we tried this time around. We put in a release before the expansion, which was about kind of ship balancing. There was a little tuning and little improvements.
Marauder stuff.
Kind of wanted to have a clean slate for the expansion, because then you drop the new things, the new ships, etc. So we kind of tried to pre-balance before the expansion. The expansion kind of innovates something brand new, where we move the game forward. And then in the follow-up, we have quality of life and we balance and iteration, etc. And I think that's a really good, healthy way to do it. So we're really aiming for a kind of scheduled, balanced meta changes. But we've also learned before that constantly stirring the pot is not good, but not necessarily on top of the expansion. So maybe this is kind of a small beat expansion kind of cadence that we feel. And then the storyline, the narrative kind of just gently is on top to make everything.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, that a lot of people were saying that the roadmap was like, what is this? Like, there's not a lot. It doesn't have to be a lot every single year. It's still EVE. There's still the EVE is the most to do of any MMO, I think. I think there's more to do in EVE than any MMO. Okay, there's just you could do every single site in EVE for the next year, and there'd still be more, like one after another, and there'd still be more to do. It's just, there's just a lot to do. So if we have these small beat expansions that are more improvements than they are expansions, that's fine with me as long as the game continues to be fun. That's it, So.
A bit more kind of new, something to do every day. I think that's the lesson. We went like hardcore into everything in the expansion. Needs to be like biggest patch notes ever, like everything in it, like make it super beefy, but it's probably not the healthiest way. So there's something like in between.
And
I totally agree. Infused, you're sending me something? Oh no, Infused, don't do that. No. Infused, listen. I can't accept this. Okay, it's a lot of ISK. It's a lot of money. 5,000 Plex. I cannot accept that. Okay, Infused, thank you. Like you're a stream viewer. I appreciate you, showing up, and this is a lot. Thank you. I cannot accept 5,000 Plex. I am space rich by myself. I appreciate you, handing me 30 billion ISK in Plex chat, but please, Infused Lime, feel free to use that for your journey. What I'm trying to do, Infused, is only really accept contracts from my alliance, and for all that, because we've had other things go on. So Infused, thank you for that. Goodness gracious, Jack. Can we get some 07s for Infused Lime? Trying to give the people, give me 5,000 Plex. That's just, thank you. I cannot accept, because I am plenty space rich. Thank you for that. Feel free to give it to someone that needs it, not just me. Feel free to use it and go from there. So thank you for that. That's a big 30 billion S chat. Thank you. Thank you for that. I respectfully decline. Okay, we're trying to only accept contracts from like my alliance for a bunch of reasons. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the sentiment. I am going to move forward. Thank you very much for that. So.
In that vein, we recognize that a lot of EVE players tend, they play a lot over the course of the totality of that expansion. And so, while it's exciting to get that day, that present you unwrap, it's also nice to get little, bursts of other content and events, True. Narrative moments and fixes along the way as well. And I think that just keeps everything feeling sort of healthy. Like I call it hygiene, kind of like us tending to everything as
right. And Infused, if anybody watching this has new Corp stuff, feel free to go into our Discord, in the EVE Online section of Discord. If you guys have an event, we have the Grow the Community chat. That's where, like, if you're a content creator, you can post your videos. If you're in a Corp, you can post your activity. Just don't spam. Don't be like every hour you're posting about it. Post it one time, for God's sake, right? And post your stuff. If you got a big MPSI fleet coming up, if you're recruiting, feel free to go to the Grow the Community chat in our Discord and check that out. Thank you, Infused. Feel free to post whatever y'all want to post there. It's for you. It's for the community. That's why it's Grow the Community chat.
We need to as well, and like clean and healthy.
Mending the fences.
Yeah, mending the fences.
Okay, good.
It's way better than what first came to my mind, which was expansion flavor crystals. But yeah, mending the fences. There you go. That's way better.
I don't know. I kind of like flavor crystals.
I like that, Swift. That's good.
I'm sorry if that catches on. It's a weird thing. Okay, but yeah, so that's like the overall thought of that for expansion. That's really cool. Excited for it. We already talked about a little bit of the things that we're kind of looking at in the lead up to the summer. But like, what does this kind of look like for the summer? I guess like, don't want every single nitty-gritty detail. Got to save some stuff for FanFest, some stuff for
what do we got?
With some surprises. Like generally, we talked about Corp projects. We talked about like Equinox of, and just what does summer look like a little bit more closer to home.
So way more agency in Equinox off.
Okay.
Like there's different upgrades, more freedom. A lot of kind of. Our takeaway was there's a lot of space that's like considered unusable or trash space or whatever. We're gonna want to give like that space a bit of a second life. Like what can you do with that?
Okay.
True sec or like security and how it impacts the value of systems is something that we were all about. I think there can be very interesting things about like what you do and how you maintain control your own soft space. So kind of like defensibility, usability of that. So there's like, I would think of it as a batch of really good upgrades for Equinox Soft and some trade-offs, because I think the consensus was, okay, it's a really good system, hypothetically, but we really just have one best choice for every system. So we're trying to introduce.
We made
choices.
a Christmas tree. Now we're giving you decorations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm hoping.
All right, so the summer expansion is going to make Equinox better. Revenant was like an addendum to Equinox. We're going to get more to do. Hopefully they'll add in some more mining sites to people, for people in Null to be able to go forward. We'll see.
Everyone
It's
in
very
Nullsec should
intriguing.
be able to kind of
We're almost done, Esbjorn. We're almost
customize,
done.
iterate,
Getting the full
on
picture.
their space a bit
Full
more
picture.
and kind of make it feel a bit more home and just feel more full of life and resources.
Nice. That's really exciting. I know a lot of groups that are getting like amped about like what this is going to look like for the future. Every time we touch Nullsec, it seems like something big will happen afterwards. But it takes some adjusting. It takes, as you were saying, CCB Burger, it takes a little bit of time to cook and get used to things and figure out what is like
Let
what is
them cook,
a
chat.
need that needs to be filled, and what is like an area that the players have like figured things out that they don't need stuff for.
Yeah. And then, then of course, like we talked about earlier, we're doing a big push on freelance projects. And so we can see like a lot of the threads that we've been kind of weaving for the last couple of years, they're starting to come together, and you can, it's becoming kind of a holistic package. So
they're going to update the Corp and Alliance projects this year with the ability to be a full freelancer for an Alliance, like not be in the Alliance, but still contribute to it in like a meaningful way. Okay. All right.
it's going to be super cool. And there's some really exciting stuff on the horizon around, freelance projects and things coming together.
Yeah. I think kind of the identity of a corporation is also something that we want to strengthen even further. Just we're talking about the freelance projects. So if you role play as a new player, someone's saying like, "Hey, do this for me." I'm like, "Who are you?" We really want to make that kind of just like that pretty impressive, like that corporations can show you who they are, like improve the corp finder aspect of it. Like, who are these guys? What do they stand for? And kind of just like get into the notion that like the NPCs, they're just kind of fixed and kind of normal, but what does it mean when a player corporation like shows up and you start interacting with them?
That's a good point.
There's something interesting. A lot of times people don't understand the difference between those, so I really want to highlight them as early as we can and kind of allow players to customize or like kind of make those things stand out for themselves.
Yeah. There's so much kind of the idea of a corporation in EVE. Like there's so much cool stuff around the corporation and alliances. Like there Discord servers and a lot of chatter and they people go out, fly together, blow stuff up but a lot of these things, they only manifest kind of outside the client, and this has kind of been a topic for quite some time here, and
right.
a big topic that we want to talk about at FanFest, and we really want to kind of have this conversation with the community on how can we start to bring some of these stuff that's only outside the client. How can you kind of bring it more into the client?
What if they brought a VoIP into EVE? What if you're in an asteroid belt and you are able to talk over voice to somebody else on the asteroid belt? Like Call of Duty has death comms, right? When you die, someone can be like, chat, let's just be honest what death comms are. Be like,
You're ugly and that's why your parents divorced you.
oh yeah, like that's how every death comm sounds. Right? Could you imagine prox chat in the game? We could give a nice hoo-yah to like whoever the heck, right.
Please, Mr. Blob, I just want to live. I'd like to survive.
Because right now all the voice comms are just in, can you imagine? Chat, every single time we die, we just have to give them a nice hoo-yah. That way, no. See, some people hate that. I think that sounds kind of fun. Talk about organic interactions. But see, VoIP, you have to do it is like Dark and Darker. Dark and Darker is PvP, you like spawn into a zone, you like extract. It's an extraction game, but it's like a fantasy game, right? And you can turn on VoIP and you can talk to people. Like some guy's got a sword walking up to you and you're like, hey man, I come in peace. And it's like proximity. And it's like, well, what if I don't want to come in peace? And they like get ready to charge. And you're like, and then you pull out your like fire staff and you're like, try, bro. Like, come on. And they're like, okay, fine. There's some organic interactions there. So if they're talking about bringing stuff out of game into game, like the third-party tools, now NPSIs in the game. I know it's rough, but it's in the game, and we'll figure out how to make it better. That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. You know, right? Beg for your pod. That's basically what's going to end up happening. I don't know if that's coming to the game chat, but having stuff that's out of game in the game, more of that in the game, I think the better.
How can we kind of allow it to kind of paint the experience? You come into a space and you can just feel that this is, controlled by a major power. And this is going to be kind of, maybe not the summer expansion, but more something that we will start to look at more kind of when we get close to winter. But this is definitely going to be a huge topic at FanFest, and I can see plenty of 1 beer, 2 beer, and 3 beer conversations at FanFest. So make sure.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Those are always kind of like the highlights of my FanFest experience as a player. We're just like bumping into a dev, being like, hey, can I get you a beer? All this one thing I really want to talk about. These poor devs have heard so many horrible pitches from me about like game design stuff. But it is still like really fun to chat with players.
If I ever ran for CSM, and again, I'm not, my platform would be remove local chat as it is everywhere. Make it like Wormhole Space and Potchfin. Every place. That'd be my number one thing. Make Eve, maybe not in high sec, only high sec, because then you're like, oh, there's like, whatever. But everywhere else, get rid of it.
Hear what motivates them. Hear like what stories they're making.
Right. Imagine no local, but add VoIP. So like you're on the belt and you're on D-scan, you see like a rifter coming in and you just hear like slowly but surely,
She'll be coming around the mountain when you go.
like someone's doing like a song as they warp towards you and you're, get out of here, dude, get me the warp, align, as you hear like imagine how many people are going to play Fortunate Son over VoIP, dude. Imagine. Oh, you can't have, right, maybe Jitty you like make it so you can't do it or something. I don't know how it would look, but imagine like the amount of like someone sinos in and everyone just starts playing Fortunate Son through their VoIP, dude. Let's go. Right. You're cloaked up and you think you're alone and someone comes in and goes,
Hey, how much tritanium you got?
how scared would you be, dude? You're just like, oh, that would be so fun, dude. Oh my God. That would be sick, chat. It'd be a different game. Right. Imagine.
I see you.
And the whole, that would be sick.
We gave, though.
That'd be sick. I don't think it'll happen.
The most exciting
I
part.
cannot wait for horrible pitches.
We'll see.
They're fun.
Yeah.
Right on. And also, we were talking about, I think, CCB, Ratati, you were mentioning what the future of war looks like. In 2024, it was adding like a lot of,
Yes.
I forget the term you used.
I love it.
Tactical objectives in space for all fleet sizes.
This is super interesting. Tactical objectives in space for all fleets. Right, nice skin. The proxy chat stuff is infinite, literal infinite fun, chat. It would be so funny. Tactical objectives in space for all fleet sizes. So they added destroyer level objectives in Revenant. They are merc dens. You can do a merc den in a destroyer. You can like defend it in a destroyer. Crazy. I didn't know that. I've never done merc dens. I'm not sure. You can do skyhooks and ESS. Okay, so skyhooks are like, you can do skyhooks in cruisers? That's a stabber. At Equinox, okay, sure. You can't defend a skyhook and a stabber. So, you guys are funny. D-scans is manual, yes. ESS and battle cruisers or below. Metanox drills, you can, I think this is like, is this, you can like attack them with, You can rob it with one. Okay, so like a mercenary den, you can rob it with destroyers. Skyhooks, you can rob it with cruisers. ESS, you can do with battle cruisers or below. Meninox Moondrows, you can rob with battleships or below. Citadels, you really need a dread to take and kill a citadel. Sovereignty, you need titans. Okay. Okay. This is more interesting than... Right. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
There you go. It's so catchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
T-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, what that looks like, being like, oh, maybe I want to fight over a citadel. I'm going to need me and my closest 500 friends. But maybe if I'm fighting over a skyhook or a mercenary den, it's just me and 3 or 4 people.
Yes.
And kind of what more of that looks
Yes.
like, building on top of that as an idea going into like 2025.
Right.
Yeah, I think the Metanoxes were a great, and the mercenary dens. Like these are, you can do some damage just like with the time.
Guys, devs, I love you guys. Please, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 graphs in one slide. How is anybody supposed to read this? I love you guys. It's too much. Okay, where am I even looking? Where am I starting? Mercenary den actions. What the heck, Jan? Do you need a degree? You just might. Mercenary den actions. Anarchy stage change, development stage change, entered reinforcement, exit reinforcement, registered. Okay, so looks like at the start of Merc dens here, we have activated was the most. Now we have anarchy stage changed. I don't know what that means. I haven't done those. We'll see. Development state change. So they like went into production. It looks like the most things that happen now are this blue graph, and that's anarchy stage change. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean, chat? I would love prox chat. That would actually be fan-freaking-tastic. So, yes. Yeah, you make prox chat something you can opt into, is what I was saying. And in Dark and Darker, you can opt into it, or you can just destroy it. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Infomorph quantity daily. Wow, there's a crap ton of infomorphs. Infomorphs generated, infomorphs extracted, scuttled. Yeah, this is like lost. Chat, I might want to go do some Merc Den ops. This might be fun. Maybe we do that, seeing as how many there are. Items received through Infomorph battering. Tholos blueprint. Small breacher. Look at the difference. The Cenotaph is 1/3 less than the Tholos. Tholos been gotten a lot. Yowzer. Friday Merc Dens? Maybe. Honestly, we'll probably do that at some point. Definitely do that at some point. All right, what's this? All mercenary dens by system. And this is looking like a top-down view of the map, seeing where it is. Sure. You're seeing like a lot here, a lot. I don't know what here is, so that's interesting. So, captain's quarters even glitched the server. They had to remove it. Well, yeah, there it is. So, right, this is just a lot to look at. Exactly. Basically, they're showing that Merc dens are being used. They're being used a lot, and they're increasing. That's like what I'm saying. Well, you know what? They're not increasing. The amount of Merc dens, they go down, they go up, but they're basically, it's holding around this level. This level, I almost knocked over my coffee, chan. Sheesh. This level right here is holding. You can see the line is kind of like static right there. So we'll see. What's this blue graph here? I can't see because you guys removed it. Oh no, activity state change. Sure. Okay. Okay.
Tiny fleet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Tholos more because it's 900 versus 39. Right. So.
Or at least die trying. And I think we were missing that. We didn't have anything really to kind of tackle. And I think we had heard a lot of like, but I can't defend all these things. Well, sometimes like just don't build. You're just going to accept that you're going to get bitten by...
That's part of the game.
Mosquitoes. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to just like never have mosquitoes. Like you're going to have them.
Right.
And I think it's
kind of the ethos to what I was saying before is like, look, you can have structures, Sov Hub, Skyhooks, Merc Dens, Moon Drills. It's a lot more to defend. And some people might say, I don't want to defend all that. Then just don't deploy them. But then I won't be able to keep up with those that do. Great. Go talk to the big alliances and figure out how to join them so you can be under the same umbrella. You know, this is the thing. Like, more content means we need more bodies to protect stuff, means we have to recruit more, means we need more Eve players, means there's more to do. Okay? It's all like, instead of saying, well, I don't want to defend all that, how can we defend all that? See the difference in ethos, in like thinking, is, well, I don't want to do all that. Well, you don't have to. It's a video game. Come on, guys. But if you want to, time to recruit more, time to figure out how we can get more corps into your lines. How do you get more blues? That's the way to do it. So Hoot, you will soon, my friend.
Fine,
you will
because
soon.
these investments are making money in the
We'll see, JM Lusa.
Sure.
I'll have to look up how to do.
Skyhooks and Mercdens and Metanoxes are for sure like making more money than they're losing.
Yeah,
based on
and I
defenses.
mean, like, part of that's the way we balance these things in terms of cost, right? Like a Mercden's really not that expensive to get going.
That graph was weird. I don't even want to talk about it. It was just very strange. It's like, anyway.
And I know some people have made some pretty good cash on those as well. So like the economy is really healthy.
CCP devs, I know that your players are smart, but if you want new people to come in and understand what the hell this is, put a graph here, and then I need a blurb to the left of the graph of what you think this means. 2 sentences. You don't need a freaking dissertation, okay? Merc mined by volume. We see the uptick in recent months of Metanox Moon mats is much higher than it was 6 months ago in June. TLDR, more merc is being mined by volume than it was 6 months ago. This graph is going to piss off a lot of people because of what we just talked about, because this might not be the whole story. I don't care if merc is getting mined more than it was in July if the price is however many much percentages over it is now, so much that the entire stream was complaining, okay? I think this graph is a marketing graph. We'll just put it that way. Okay.
in terms of cost, right? Like a Mercden's really not that expensive to get going. And I know
That makes sense,
people
Chad.
made some pretty good cash on those as well. So like the economy is really healthy, the ecosystem's good, and like, yeah, they're going to get destroyed, but they're not, they've probably made you some cash, and they're not super expensive to get started up and going.
Yeah, we're talking to a few players who created some diplomatic incidents by dropping too many mercenary dens. I think this is the first part, or the first time period where players are just looking at the types of planets that were in this space. They're like, oh shoot, there are not many of these. This guy woke up at downtime and put down 5. Oh, that can't be good enough. Complain to their leadership. Now the leadership have a new set of problems they have to deal with. Allies have to shoot up some other ones because they're creating anarchy. It's actually such a neat little ecosystem that comes out of there.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we have, we have the...
Right, and this is kind of the point, Reem, I mean, is if they just fix the bug, right? If they just fix the bug that have more merc spawned, saying, look, more merc is being mined on this white graph, it's a bit disingenuous, right? But I understand that they need to, this is why you come watch the stream, okay? And you come watch other EVE creators' commentary on this so you can get bigger pictures. There's stuff that I don't know that y'all have helped with. Instead of just watching the director's letter and taking what they're saying as fact, you come to a place like this so we can interact with stuff, right? So Gifted, welcome in. We're watching the director's letter, so.
The great migration happened last year, and we had the big stunting reset January 1st this year. So I think we have a very fertile ground for people shooting each other in the face.
Yeah, shooting each other in the face, endorsed by the CCP directors.
Yes.
Endorsed
in game, of course.
But when it comes to these like ideas that we're talking about, especially some of the quality of life ones that you were mentioning, CCP Rotati, and even ship balance stuff, where do we kind of source that information from? Like when we want to make balance changes.
That's mostly for me.
It's all up in here.
It's right here.
Man.
It's a methodical, quasi-methodical kind of approach. We basically have, we collect them from devs, we collect them from ourselves. I go through a lot of historical documents. A lot of old ideas are still valid. So like even the old lists of like CSM lists of days gone are still relevant. A lot of just social commentary. CSM is probably like the strongest filter for these ideas. But our favorite, aside from those, are just well articulated things on social media and these kind of manifestos. When communities come together.
If you've got an idea, feedback, present it in a constructive way. The devs field it, listen to it, aggregate it, give it to your CSM, put it, I'm not like, what I mean by, let me define constructive. If you go on Reddit, like the cesspool area, It really is a cesspool, chat. I just don't recommend going there. If you go there and you type a bunch of like angry messages, blah, 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 they might catalog it, but I don't know if I would use that as part of my data, right? But if you're like, look, here's what the MER shows, here's player sentiment, here's the graphs you showed, here's why that's not the full story, here's what I recommend. And here's the main thing that I would tell you. If you say, here's what's wrong with the game, well, great, now there's nothing really gonna happen. But if you say, here's what's wrong with the game, here's my 5-step process to fix it, that's gonna help a lot more. So, correct. I would never go there for information, Zeri, but entertainment, maybe. We'll see. So, constructive feedback, y'all.
Is basically like if you all agreed enough to do this list, it's probably worth taking a look at.
Yeah.
And this has been great because we can't play test or kind of foresee every single thing or an aspect of a thing, because we just need all the experts to come together and say like, okay, is this good or bad? We kind of had this conversation with CSM 18 or even before about force projection. Like, don't we all kind of agree that this is a problem? Mm-hmm. That was the first hurdle.
Yeah.
Then we'll figure out some solutions. But do we kind of all agree that this is a problem? Okay. And I think that's where we get the kind of the best momentum and motivation to fix things. If like, okay, they're all behind it, let's get there.
Yeah. There's like a rigor and a thoughtfulness behind some of these as well that we really appreciate. And they don't always prescribe like how to fix something, but they identify what the problems are. And I think those are always the best for us because there might be multiple paths we can take, right? Maybe even things that people don't realize we can do in terms of building features. So it's always
scratch what I just said then. Tell them what the problem is. Apparently that's what they want more. Sure. Hey, listen to what they're telling you, right? There you go.
Like this is our primary, this is our biggest problem and this is why it's a problem. And to have that really well sort of like methodically articulated and documented for us is like been tremendously helpful. And we've seen those for like Pashvin and Wormholes. And so definitely I really appreciate it and like a conduit through our CSM.
It's gotten better.
So that's been fantastic.
Pashvin's better.
But we too often share just like a snippet from forums of like, that's actually a decent, like, that's pretty decent. That's I didn't see that shit? This kind of thing.
See that?
And we basically just kind of share them in a Slack channel or something and say like, okay, is this worth pursuing? Then we go through like a lot of rigor of like, okay, we have a team meeting where we go through opportunities, we rate them and say, is this hard, easy, etc. So this is just like what we do all day long.
Yep. Or with like PI templates, sometimes a good meme helps.
Sorry, chat.
Yeah.
But what I want you to see is that they're talking about fixes. Okay, every single question that was put on this was done. It was done on purpose. So when you hear them going like, so how do you do your feedback? How do we categorize feedback? It's probably because in the current news of EVE players, people think CCP devs don't listen to anybody, right? That's trending for whatever reason, whether it's on Reddit or something else. So they're directly countering that with something else. There's always a question behind the question, chat. Always be kind of going, all right, they're asking that question on a scripted interview. Why are they doing that? You kind of have to ask the question behind the question, right? So this is good. They take your feedback and they use it. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, let's listen to a little more and then we are going to end this because this is a long video. Thank you for watching, Chan. Thanks for being here.
There, sometimes we find, we have these amazing things that come up, but it's not necessarily the right time to do them, or sure. There are 5 other steps that need to happen before this feature happens or this change happens. So it is a dance, and it's an interesting puzzle to kind of, and there isn't really a single answer. So when we get kind of the problem statements clearly written or articulated, that really helps us. Yeah,
and of course, right now the CSM are here.
Yep.
We've got them trapped for a full week, chatting with us about stuff that's happening in the summer, just all of 2025.
Yeah.
And
we're actually all locked in a room, and I have the key in my pocket, so no worries.
Right over there.
Yeah, we will free them soon. Don't worry, you'll get your CSM back. But yeah, we have the list of topics that we have as well. So we'll let you guys know exactly what's going on, and very soon.
Sounds like we're done. We got a couple minutes left, but I think that's enough. Wow. Y'all, this is why you come watch this video, because instead of just watching this by yourself and being in like a vacuum, okay, we do this on the live stream. We react to live, some great discussion in the live. Then we're going to also have the this put in a YouTube video, right? So y'all can come in there and go check out the various tags there. So make sure, if you want the best EVE news, you check out this playlist. We put all of our game news in there, not just for EVE. We're going to have a bunch of stuff in there as well. And if you want the best EVE guides, you sub right here. We'll see ya in the next video.